Yeah, welcome everybody to Playback. My name is Brandon.
My name is Nate.
This is the show where two music producers take turns picking music albums to talk about. They're always music albums.
Yeah, usually.
Nate, you picked this time Bad by Michael Jackson.
Yes.
I just want to front load this conversation with my first hot take. I'm just going to do the hot take right out the gate.
Let's hear it.
I think this album should be called Good instead of Bad.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do actually think that it's a bad title, though. I guess they were originally going to name it Smooth Criminal, and I'm like, that is such a better title. Probably smart in retrospect they didn't allude to him being a criminal. So
Yes, yeah. Right. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, you picked Bad by Michael Jackson. So tell us, qu'est-ce que c'est? What is Bad? Why did you pick it?
So Bad is his, I believe, 7th solo album overall.
Wow.
Which is crazy to think about because it feels like his 3rd, but it's really just the 3rd he did with Quincy Jones. So it's the 3rd that resulted from that particular partnership. A huge album.
So the 3rd of the ones that count.
Yeah, I mean his 3rd and last good one. I think I kind of think it's his
not
last.
A fan of Dangerous, are you?
I think it's okay. I listened to it a little bit today. Actually, it's interesting, but you know, I think a lot of what we'll get into talking about Bad today is the sort of dated aspects of it. I think that is primarily in the production section of the show. Is probably, I imagine, we'll spend a lot of time talking about that kind of stuff. And I feel that the same thing is true of Dangerous and everything he did after this. Thriller was his last truly timeless album.
Oh, that's yes.
Everything after it's so dated. Like even Dangerous. Like this has that really like crazy 80s synth everything, synth maximalist sound. And Dangerous has that like New Jack kind of
New Jack swing.
Swing.
Because it's
thing.
Produced by Teddy Riley, who invented New Jack Swing.
And that is super dated as like a production style too. And
New Jack Swing is possibly the most dated style of music that there is. Other than like big band or something.
I feel like
hot jazz.
Yeah. He kind of like he was cursed after Thriller of like I think trying to chase like the sound to sound timeless and to sound like contemporary. And in doing that, pretty much all of his music after Thriller sounds really dated to me. And Bad just being the first of many in that case. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to pick Bad in particular rather than Thriller because Thriller it's almost too big of a topic to get into anyway. It's like because
Thriller.
Yeah, it's too much like to do Thriller. Whereas like Bad, I think that there was more of a way in with Bad because of the direction they took on the production on this specifically. And also kind of the biggest reason I wanted to pick this was because of the point in time in his life when this came out. And it's the end of how we want to remember Michael Jackson and the beginning of how we do remember Michael Jackson.
Holy shit.
It's right here. This is right when it happened.
It's got bars right now. Holy shit. Okay. Wow.
So that's what I think in the first upcoming part of the show, I think that's kind of what I want to talk about is that kind of stuff surrounding this period of time in his life. But before we get to that, what was your impression listening to Bad? I imagine you're pretty familiar with this because you're a human being on Earth who knows about Michael Jackson. But what was your experience like? Were you familiar with this? Did you grow up with it? Did you?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was born the year before it came out, and then I was like 6 years old, I think, by the time he released another record. So my, those earliest times of my life, like my earliest memories are in the Bad world. You can measure time. You can use which Michael Jackson album are you in as a yardstick of time, of the zeitgeist of the world? You know what I mean? Like in the way that people talk about pre and post 9/11. If you want to know what the world felt like, it's like, well, which Michael Jackson album was the most recent one at this time? You know, so listening back to it again this time, this is an album that I listen to every couple of years because it's cool. Like in terms of favorite best, in terms of Michael Jackson albums, Thriller's the best. I think Bad is probably my favorite.
Interesting. Okay.
I think.
Interesting.
It's either Thriller or Bad. Because I don't know. It's just, it's unique. It has like a uniqueness that Thriller doesn't have. You know, Thriller is the all-timer. Thriller is the Godfather. Thriller is the Bible. You know, like it's the normal... It's the one.
What were we saying before the show? That this is Michael Jackson's Casino,
right? Yeah, Thriller is Goodfellas.
Yeah.
If Bad was a movie, it would be Casino, right?
Yeah. To Thriller's Goodfellas. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
and which would make Off the Wall what?
Is it Mean Streets?
Mean Streets. I think definitely Mean Streets.
Yeah. But I love Casino.
Yeah.
Casino's amazing.
It's great, yeah.
And Casino is like weird and more sort of more interesting in a way that Goodfellas isn't.
Agree.
And Bad, I don't know. It's just very interesting in a way that Thriller isn't.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, because of the datedness of what you're talking about. This is not like he really made some sonic choices and just leaned into it. Like, okay, we're going to go this technological direction with this music, and which we will get into in our discussion. We're going to talk about the gear. We're going to talk about how it was recorded, how it was made, and all that stuff, and everything that gives it this sound that if you don't enjoy that very digital sound, if you don't like it, then you're probably not going to like
you.
You're probably not going to like Bad, and it won't be necessarily because of the music and the songwriting, but just because of the way that it sounds, the tonality, the aesthetic of this album.
To kind of jump on what you're getting at, like I totally understand when you say like Thriller's best, but this might be your favorite, because Thriller has the timeless sound to it, but like there's a couple skips on Thriller for me. Like, I'm sorry. There's a couple that, like the McCartney duet, I'm kind of like, it's not that good.
Yeah, whatever.
There's a couple skips on Thriller, whereas I think there's not as many, like the highs on Thriller are possibly the highest highs in recorded history, right? If you're talking about Thriller, the song, and Billie Jean and Beat It, like, and PYT, like there's songs on there that are, you can't do better in the recording medium than that, or as like a songwriter or a performer or anything. It's like, and like I would say, while Bad has fewer moments that reach those highs, overall as an album, there's probably more good songs on this one than on Thriller.
What I enjoy about it so much is that aspect that I was talking about, where like he made a choice and he just like doubled, tripled down on, you know, he picked an avenue and went with it.
Yeah,
and there's just some
fearless.
Artistic, there's artistic gold that can come from that, you know. By the way, speaking of favorite best, I want to propose another quick favorite best game with you right now.
Okay, let's do it.
Favorite best Michael sound. I'm going to give you a list. You've got Shaman.
Okay.
You've got
okay.
Yeah, who?
I'll cut you off. It's Shaman. It's definitely Shaman.
Shaman.
That
both
is,
favorite and best for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you know what one you didn't say is ho.
Oh, dude, I didn't even put that on my list.
Ho!
Ho! That's a great one.
Maybe it's that. That's
a great one.
That might be favorite, but I think best is Shaman for sure.
Yeah, I say Shaman is best, but my favorite is Suka Chuka. Suka Chuka.
Suka Chuka and ho!
Ho!
Him doing his best Jerry Seinfeld is my favorite. Yeah.
this one came out in 87, and sort of like the biggest like ingredient to the story of this album is that this was the one where he needed to follow up Thriller.
Which, like, possibly the hardest task, most pressure on anyone ever. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how you approach that, like, mountain of, like, a problem to solve, which is following up, like, possibly the best, not, like, quality-wise, the best, and also from an album sales standpoint, like, the biggest selling album ever. And then at the same time, now you are the most famous person who's ever lived, maybe currently during that time, and all eyes are on you, and you have to follow that up. Like,
and that's really what Michael has going for him. Is it's not just these superlatives in terms of like opinion and like subjectively the best ever or whatever, you know, like he has metrics. There's like numbers, sales, revenue, like awards won and all these things that, you know, like measured things that nobody else has ever topped or ever done
up to that point. Yeah, absolutely.
And so Thriller came out in 82, and it took him 5 years to come out with this one. And it, you know, it was something that really weighed heavily on him, that he took very seriously.
He, like, supposedly on, like, the mirror of his dressing room, he just wrote 100 million. So every time he was, like, getting ready to perform or, like, rehearse or whatever, he would remind himself that, like, Bad had to sell 100 million copies, which I don't think is what happened. But
it did not, because that would have been double the revenue of Thriller.
Right.
And he didn't hit 100 million, but that was sort of the way that he was approaching it, was like I don't need to meet this. I need to, like, make Thriller look like
nothing.
Like nothing. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Thriller took him, it took about 3 months to record Thriller.
That's insane to me. That hurts. That hurts me a little bit.
Right. Yeah. We take 3 months to record our pieces of poop that we put out. And it took, I mean, you know, he's got Quincy Jones and
Bruce
Swedeen and fucking all these fucking people to help him out. Greg Fillinganes. He's got Toto, the entire roster of Toto.
Just a Rolodex of anyone in LA, anyone in the world, like a session musician. Probably any musician he wants, really, like, for the most part. The only people it seemed like he had trouble getting involved were, like, other really big stars, like Prince. Prince.
Do you know that story?
Yeah, like, okay, so on this album, the first song, Bad, was they approached. Apparently, the Michael Jackson camp approached Prince's camp, and there was a meeting, supposedly, of Michael and Prince.
Yes, they were seriously discussing doing this.
Yeah, where the idea was Bad, the song, was going to be a duet with Prince, and I think the first verse would have been Prince's verse, which is wild to think about. But Prince didn't want to do it because the first line in the whole album is "Your butt is mine."
Exactly.
Which I think maybe Prince thought was like a little gay or something, which is funny because Prince is the gayest homophobe who's ever lived.
I know, right? Yeah, one of the, like, all-time, like, what do you call it? Just like symbols of
queer art.
Right. Yeah.
And he was a little homophobic, which is weird.
More than a little.
Yeah. Like he was kind of not, he didn't have very contemporary opinions on that kind of thing.
No.
But yeah.
Can you imagine how big that would have been, by the way? Because also, to put it into context, Purple Rain came out in 84.
Right.
So this is the most recent thing that either one of these guys had put out was Thriller and Purple Rain.
No, I think this was during, I mean, yeah, that's fucking crazy. But I think this was also during Sign of the Times. So like Prince I
forgot how much quicker he works than Michael did.
Prince was writing like a string of 10s, right?
I see.
And Michael just had, his last one was the biggest 10 out of 10 of all time.
Right.
But yeah, it would have been insane. It kind of hurts to think that it didn't happen. I wish it would have. But and the other one is I Just Can't Stop Loving You was supposed to be a duet with Whitney Houston, and they couldn't get Whitney Houston.
I did not know that.
And it makes me like, because it's crazy because yeah, he could have gotten any like session musician, anybody who just like cost money, he could afford them and he would get them. But
money
it was like
nothing. Yeah.
people's whose like star power would be on the line if they were to basically go head to head with Michael on a track. I think that a lot of bigger stars at the time, just like they weren't willing to put their reputation on the line up against Michael Jackson. I think he was too. I think Michael Jackson was really intimidating and too talented. I think even people like Whitney Houston and Prince were like, dude, I can only lose really, like standing next to your star power, right? Like because as famous as they are, they don't hold a candle to Michael Jackson. I mean, maybe Prince does, but like
right, yeah, yeah. Prince and Michael are. But their flavors, their styles are so like sort of incompatible when you really look at it, and I think that is a big part of it too, because like in researching all this and really kind of like getting ready for this episode was the most like closely that I paid attention and focused on Michael Jackson for a while, like you sort of just like listened to him in the background because he just always existed. But like actually thought about him intentionally, like for the first time in a long time.
Probably since he died for me.
Another thing that is a testament to how big he was is like, okay, let me just ask you, do you remember where you were when you heard when Michael Jackson died?
I was literally going to ask you the same thing, but yes, I absolutely do.
I remember the posture that I was sitting in, the room, what it was, everything. I remember who was around me. It's the thing of like the moon landing, like him dying was that, or like when you heard that 9/11 happened,
or John Lennon. I think the better comparison is like when John Lennon got shot. Like everybody. That was a huge point in time in music history, and everybody knows what they were doing. And I have a crazy story about, I'll keep it short, but my story about what I was doing and like how I remember where I was when he died. Like I was going to go on a date with a girl the following.
Damn, that is weird, man. Wow. That's a good story, Nate. So anyway,
no, okay, shut up. So I was gonna go on a date with a girl, and we were gonna go to the beach, and then we were gonna go to Pirates Cove in Avila Beach. It's a cave you go into, and it overlooks the ocean, like on this cliff. It's really beautiful. The night before, I read Michael Jackson's entire Wikipedia page from front to back, from front to top to bottom. I read everything. And then the next day, I'm at Pirates Cove, and I'm sitting there with this girl, and she's on her phone, and she goes, "Michael Jackson just died," and I'm like, "No way!"
Wow,
what? Like it blew my mind, and I was sitting there trying to explain to her, like, "You don't get it. I've been thinking about him all day, like, and all night last night, like." But it was very weird coincidence. Is all
that is weird.
Yeah, but what about you?
I was working on set. Of like a horror. So it was 2009. They were like webisodes. It was a horror thing with Robert Englund.
Oh, Freddy Krueger. Another like iconoclastic 80s legend.
And the what's his name? Something Kane, who played like Jason.
Kane.
What's his
something
name?
Hodder.
Oh,
Kane
his
Hodder?
first name is Kane.
Kane
Hodder. There you go.
Yeah, he's Jason.
They were in it. It was called Fear Clinic.
Okay.
So I was working on the set of that. It was in East LA. This like old hospital that was like completely abandoned and decommissioned, and it was just used exclusively for shooting creepy ass hospital, like haunted hospital scenes.
So you heard Michael Jackson died with Freddy Krueger.
Yes. Yeah.
That is also really crazy.
And I was like, "Freddie, how you doing?" He's like, "Brandon, my best friend. I don't know how. I'm so glad that you're here, Brandon. I don't know how I could get that. It's okay, Freddie. I got you, just like always.
Yeah.
No,
No, what he really said was like, "What, bitch?
I mean, did you hear that Michael Jackson just died, bitch?
Bitch."
Yeah. Hey, bitch, did you hear? No, but the thing that was trippy about it though was because at the time my main job was working at Center Staging, which was the rehearsal studios where they did all of the rehearsals for This Is It. So all the rehearsal scenes from This Is It, they take place where I worked. So I was there at the time.
Whoa.
And so Michael had just, and his entire, company is a major production. This was like the biggest tour in like world history.
Well,
right?
it was
was starting.
He was $500 million in debt. And this was his final like Hail Mary pass to like try to fucking pay back some of his debts.
Dude, it was going to work.
I think so.
It would have worked. He was going to start it off by like an 18-month residency at the O2 Arena or something.
50 sold out dates at the O2 Arena in London. 50,
absolutely.
Yeah. He would have been
absolutely. He would have sold out every single show, and then after he did that, it was going to be they were going to tour it around the world for like 6 years or something like that. Right. So they did all the rehearsals for that. They had spent like 6 or 7 months at Center Staging getting ready, and they had booked out like 4 of our biggest sound stages that we had, and they had been there the entire time. And I was there every day, and it was amazing, man. There were people who camped out on the street outside of Center Staging.
Wow.
Every day.
Yeah.
For 6 months, and some of them, these are grown people, these are adults, and they would like bring their kids. There would be like kids sitting there, just like just reading a book or something, looking all dejected and shit because their parents are like insane Michael people who drag them to this shit. The kids didn't give a shit. Right. The parents were obsessed with Michael, and he would pull up and they would go up to the window. He would crack the window open, and they would pass him in like notes and love letters to him, and like things that they handmade for him.
Right.
And then he would pass out like the ones that they gave him last time that he signed and wrote thank you notes and responses to, and passed them back to him. So these were like regular people that he like interacted with all the time. They follow him everywhere that he is in the whole world. They rehearse. I remember. So I wasn't one of the engineers there at the time. This was when I was like relatively new at the company, so I didn't have enough seniority to be one of the ones who was like mixing in these rooms all the time. Mm-hmm. But I do remember being in one of the rooms when the band was rehearsing PYT. There were like 5 keyboard players, like 3 guitar players, like decked out, everything, right? And I remember like when they started playing, this is just rehearsal. They've been rehearsing for a couple months. They're gonna be rehearsing for a couple more months. But like there's just something like magical in the air, because these musicians, they're all younger than Michael. He was like in his late 50s.
No, he was 50.
He was 50. Okay, which for him is old because he was already a superstar when he was 9.
Yeah.
But all these musicians were younger than him, so you could just feel like there's just like something that they were like in touch with how great of a moment this was in their own lives.
Yeah.
Like I'm not playing in a Michael Jackson cover band.
Dude, yeah.
I'm actually playing.
I'm Michael
PYT
Jackson's guitar player. Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
And and these are the best like gospel and R&B musicians in the world. I've never seen a band throw down as hard as they did. And just like the air in this room, it's a giant soundstage. And like, you just can't help but be caught up in this energy.
I don't know if I've ever met a musician who doesn't absolutely adore and idolize Michael Jackson on like a music level. Like he really is like, there are few musicians that I think command so much reverence and respect as Michael Jackson. Like, so I mean, I can only imagine, like, they were his guy. They were his last guys, and they really were his last guys. And I'm sure they knew that, because I really do think that I think Michael Jackson was done after that tour. I don't think he would have kept going.
Even at that point in time, it sort of had already started to feel like, what else does he have to give? Definitely. What else is he going to create?
Definitely.
Because there had already been like 10 or 15 years, if not more, since he had really released anything that really contributed to the world, you know?
He hadn't toured since 97, and he hadn't put on an album since 2001.
Wow.
So he was like really, he was done. He was already done.
It was a comeback.
It was a comeback.
But it was exciting because there was a air around this tour, this is it thing, and it really was like a comeback. And he was on point. He sounded great. He was dancing great. It's another thing about him is the dancing, the choreography. You know, Michael wrote his own stuff. He choreographed his own stuff. And he was 50, which for a dancer, so is ancient, okay? Professional dancers are generally, you know, like about early 30s and younger, right? The ones who are like getting the majority of these backup dancer gigs and who are really out there at the peak. You know, they're like, it's like athletes. It's like gymnasts or something, you know? And then once you get older than that, like your career, you know, generally consists of like choreography and coaching,
teaching
and teaching, right?
Yeah.
Now, imagine the pedigree of the professional dancers who got hired to be on the This Is It tour,
right?
The best of the best, of course, and then Michael just wipes the floor with them, just makes them look like fools, like amateurs.
Yeah.
Because of this confluence of talent and just hours, practice, dedication, focus.
He like supposedly learned and knew all the steps and all the choreography of like every Fred Astaire movie, West Side Story, all that jazz, like all the Bob Fosse stuff. Like he was as well versed in that kind of dance language as he was in the music language.
Yes.
Of like Motown and soul and R&B and all that stuff. Like he was like, man, he was like a throwback really, like to like an earlier era. I watched this interview with Sammy Davis Jr. and Sammy Davis Jr. was like, people don't understand it. Like he was like a throwback to like my era, like vaudeville and shit. Like when I was a kid, like he was that kind of an entertainer.
Yeah.
Like,
The choreography that he wrote, that's in like the Bad music video, the Smooth Criminal music video is like overt references to West Side Story, to Fred Astaire, you know, to these types of things, and it points out that, you know, to be a pop artist, it's a dual discipline. It's being a singer and a dancer, you know, which you can really see. You know, you look at like Shakira, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, like, you know, it's standard. It's normal. You need to dance and sing, both. I don't think that those of us who aren't celebrities and who aren't pop stars really have an appreciation for you know, we think that working an 80-hour week is long. But I'm telling you, man, these pop stars, they are always working.
Yeah.
They're never off.
Right.
Not only do they need to go to the next interview, to the next rehearsal, to the next show, to the next this, to the next that, to the next promo piece, to the next commercial, blah, 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 blah. Not only that, but everywhere that they go, their job is to be who they are. So anytime that anybody sees you, you're at work. Anytime that anybody hears what you are saying, you're at work. Which for them is all the time, and they have this entourage of managers who keep their schedule and are taking them to the next appointment, to the next appointment, to the next appointment, where even if you're not performing, you're you're being in front of some camera, some microphone, getting interviewed or doing something that is part of your work, right?
And not to mention, and we've brought this up on the show before, I feel like, I can't remember what episode, but it's like at that level, the Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift level, you are like an industry in yourself, in that like there are hundreds and thousands of people relying on you for like their job.
That's
like,
right.
Their career exists because of your success, right? So it's like
they work for the company that is you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So it's like, or all the people who have money invested in you, and it's like, you know, what have you done for me lately? You know, which I think is a big part of Michael Jackson's struggles in his career. Was that part of it, which is like so many bean counters were surrounding him all the time, looking over his shoulder and just going, when's the next Thriller? Where's the next Thriller? Where is it? Hurry, where is it? You know, like we want to fucking ring the Michael Jackson cash register again, you know?
Right. Because like, if Bad did not sufficiently follow up Thriller, that's not just a like personal blow.
Yeah.
That's not just a blow to the ego.
It would
have been, and which he cared about immensely, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there's so much more implication to that professionally and his obligations to other people, you know, that he felt responsible for.
You're bringing up something interesting with the This Is It tour, in that like you're framing it correctly, I think, as a comeback, but like a comeback from what? And I think the interesting thing that puts Bad in that lineage of conversation is that Bad, it's the dawn of us really learning more about him. And I think our culture trying to reconcile with our idealized image of this guy and Thriller, and how much we love Thriller, with kind of how odd of a person he was and how strange he was. He responded to a lot of like the criticisms and like speculation about him in like in a really weird, awkward way that I don't think helped him at all.
A very Michael way.
A very Michael way, yeah. He like dug in. He'd like dug in. His music and his musicianship and his dancing and his ability, it's like universal, right? It's like universally beloved. But him as a person, as like a guy, he seems like the most off-putting, strange, odd, weird person ever.
But don't you think that would be part of it, though?
Yeah, probably.
Right? I mean, if it was only the music and only the dancing, and he was just J.D. Salinger, just freaking ghost of a person, you knew nothing about what he was like personally, do you think he would have been big?
I think that was initially part of his problem, was that he tried to be kind of J.D. Salinger like post Thriller, because he didn't tour after Thriller.
But it was too late.
It was too late.
He was already our guy, and then he tried to disappear, and it was not possible. It was like you can't do that. You know, you're already ours. You know.
Yeah, like this album. The whole, like the Bad video that he got Martin Scorsese, like there's the reason he got Martin Scorsese, and he hired fucking Wesley Snipes, and like
Wesley Snipes was not Wesley Snipes.
That's true. That's true. But there's a reason they went for a guy like fucking Wesley Snipes. Was because he was trying to like recenter himself like in the Black community. I think he could sense how like out of sync he was maybe with the Black community, and this was his attempt to try to get like to try to recenter himself. And it's like I'm sorry, but like this is you're dancing around like it's West Side Story. He's like so androgynous. He's so bizarre. He's so out of sync. It's like it doesn't work. I don't think like it's weird.
Something about the androgyny, though, and it's important to put it into context, because it wasn't the same. Looking at it now is not the same. Androgyny was not a novel concept in '87.
It
right?
was, I think it was like you kind of had to be kind of androgynous to be a really big pop star back then. Like Bowie.
Look, you got David Bowie, you have Billy Idol, you have George Michael, you have Boy George, you have you know, Grace Jones, who we were talking about recently. It was only strange because Michael was Michael.
Right.
It wasn't strange in isolation that this guy looks like this. The thing that was strange about it was that it's Michael Jackson that looks like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely like the beginning. Bad marks the beginning of
the beginning of the end. It's
the beginning of the end for him, for sure, man.
It's the last time. It's the last time he was like kind of universally beloved for the right reasons, and the first time people really were taking like a hard look at him, you know, for better or worse.
Right, yeah.
A lot of it was really like kind of
it's
just
a good way of putting it.
A lot of the intense focus on him was coming from like a bad place. You know, it was prior to the allegations and all that stuff. They just were looking to tear him down because he was the biggest guy. In '87, they were calling him Wacko Jacko because of the Elephant Man bones.
I had forgotten about that, man. The monkey. The man has got a monkey.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, they had, I think, all the ammunition they needed prior to any of the fucking really bad stuff.
The allegations. Which we will get into.
Yeah,
we're going to have an entire section of this discussion where we're going to talk about, you know, did he do it or not?
Yeah.
And the allegation, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
But also musically, like in this album itself and the imagery and everything, this is also the beginning of like his kind of like his dark Michael,
which is so weird and off-putting to me, because I'm like, because this one's called Bad, his next album's called Dangerous, and he's always trying to portray himself as like a tough guy, even like in Beat It. Like Beat It.
Okay, right. I was just going to say, there was already those little beginnings of it with him flirting with heavy metal with Beat It, and I guess Billie Jean is a little dark.
It's a little bad boy, and that's the most successful. That's the most successful Bad Boy Michael song there is, I think.
Bad is interesting because it depends on whether you consider that there's 10 songs or 11 songs on this album, right? Because the song "Leave Me Alone" was not on the original release of this album.
Oh, interesting.
So this album came out originally as LP cassette. It had 10 songs. It didn't have "Leave Me Alone," and then a couple years later, when it came out on CD, "Leave Me Alone" was added on as the 11th song.
And "Leave Me Alone" is just it's just him responding to all this shit in the
exactly.
press. That's
it was
the whole
recorded
song.
later.
Right. I didn't know that.
That's why, like, the production style, the tonality of it is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's true.
It was not recorded in the same sessions. It is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. It's a fucking incredible song. But 4 out of the 10 songs start with like scary sound effects.
Yeah.
Even the beginning of "The Way You Make Me Feel."
Yeah.
Which is, you know, just like a straight down the middle fastball bubblegum pop song starts with like, it's like weird, evil lion monster growl, fucking, but the whole thing comes across, it's the rage of a very sensitive man, you know? Like, Michael's so interesting.
It makes sense that Michael Jackson, a very sensitive, shy person, like a really mean type of guy, to him is like the gangs in West Side Story.
They're just snapping like, ooh.
Like,
but it's
like
so,
that's like a mean, that's like a mean dude right there.
And how you use the word
sharks.
mean. Like he would always use, him and his brothers too, would always use the words mean and nasty. As like those were the things that he was like really put off by. Like, you know, like he could handle anything as long as you weren't
mean about it.
Oh, he's mean, just nasty. You know, just not being nice is like that's how you be Satan to Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Just the worst thing that you could be. Even like the song "Dirty Diana." Right. It's like, I'm going to get on my soapbox. I'm going to take this moment to like, let me tell you about like the most dangerous, the worst type of person that there is. And it's just like a woman who is not nice.
Mm-hmm. A groupie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She wants to do nasty things with me when I don't want to. Like that is the devil. Like that is as bad as you can be. Meanwhile, I'm going to sing these other songs about like murderers and gangsters and all this other stuff. And, you know, it's going to be morally ambiguous. And, you know, I will discourage people from that behavior. But Dirty Diana, that's Satan. Because she's not nice.
Yeah, the obsession, it seemed at the time, with either his obsession or his managers or the label to like portray him as like a tough guy. It's so like it's so odd to me. It's because it's like he's just not. That's not he's not who he is. Like he's not. I don't know why they kept trying to do that. Maybe just because Beat It was really successful. And they were like, "Oh, let's," because this whole album cover is just—it's like "Beat It," the album.
Okay, all right. Think about it right now in 2026. Who does an artist need to appeal to? They need to appeal to their target audience. Mm-hmm. Who did Michael Jackson need to appeal to?
Everyone
in the mid-'80s is every single person who is alive.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
So he needed to seem tough so that he can be taken seriously. He needed to seem like
he needed to be pretty for the girls.
Exactly.
And some of the boys.
Right. And he needed to seem like a virile heterosexual man. That is so literally why they like needed a song like The Way You Make Me Feel.
Right.
It's like we need to push an image of him that he's out there, he's available, he can successfully flirt with a girl and at a club and get her to like him. You know, like
I think it was the Dirty Diana video, I believe. There was like an actress who, and I could be wrong, it could be a different song, but I believe it's Dirty Diana. There's like the whole video is him like dancing in this alleyway, and there's on the video set there was actual Crips and like some other gang. There's like two street gangs.
It's The Way You Make Me Feel.
The Way You Make Me Feel. Yeah. And there was this beautiful woman actress who he's like chasing around, and like the director at one point told the actress, like at the end of the video, don't kiss him because he's too shy. And he like, I guess he like begged the director, like, don't make her kiss me. I don't want to make her do that and all this stuff.
I don't want to be mean. That same actress got fired from the Bad tour. Because she went on the Bad tour to come on stage and do the dance routine during The Way You Make Me Feel. She got fired from the tour because on one of the shows, she leaned in and kissed him.
I think I saw the footage of that.
Yes.
And she was like really cheeky about it because the whole audience started flipping out. And she was just like, oh, I just kissed Michael Jackson.
Yep. And next day, going home.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't do it, man.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to me too how like he isn't able to like articulate and get very descriptive about why he doesn't like this meanness and this nastiness.
Dude, he's an alien, dude. He's like a space alien. And this is not to make any excuses for the guy, okay? But I honestly think that because of the way he was raised, he had a very abusive upbringing, and because of how fucking famous he was at age 8, 9 years old, and then how fucking famous he was when he was 17 and 27 and 37, like he might as well have been from another planet. Like his point of reference for the world, for moving through the world, is so foreign to anything. 100%. I will say 100% of the population of the world will ever experience.
Yeah.
None
of us can understand.
None of us can understand how bizarre his life must have been and how alien moving through the world would be as Michael Jackson.
And that happens in just such a sensitive guy, you know, like it didn't happen to just anybody. It's happened to someone who is so sort of soft in that way.
Yeah.
You know? Like there's the story about when they were shooting the Bad music video with Martin Scorsese.
Right.
And by the way, all these other music videos around this time, that all of them take place in some gritty fucking
subway
gangland or whatever, right? Like most of them were shot at like Universal Studios backlots.
That's funny.
Or like sound stages or something. But
I'm pretty sure the Scorsese one, they went to New York though.
The Scorsese one, they actually went, the scene that's supposed to be in Harlem, they went to Harlem. And Michael was like really affected by being in Harlem.
He was like, do people actually live here?
Yeah. And seeing the way that they actually live and like telling everyone on the cruise, like, you guys, there's like a homeless guy over there. He's just laying there. Like he doesn't have any food. Like what are we going to do? And they're like, dude, have you never been to Harlem before? And like, he was like really like, you know, not just like, whoa, that's crazy, but like emotionally like affected by this. You know?
I think he was a really naive person. Like, and I think it's because of how famous he was and how shielded he was from like reality, from actual reality. Like, and it results in stuff like the We Are the World type of songs that he's kind of known for. Like We Are the World, Man in the Mirror on this is kind of like, what if We Are the World was like actually a good song? That's kind of how I think of Man in the Mirror.
And then which evolved later as he got even more disillusioned and more angry into They Don't Really Care About Us.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. These sorts of songs.
Yeah. But like he had this naivete, this naive viewpoint in the world that if we're all just nice enough to each other, we can change the world. Like we can change the world.
But see, here's the thing that I just fucking love about him.
I love
like,
that.
Isn't that true?
Honest. I love, yes. You're
isn't
right.
it that simple?
Yes.
It is true, though.
It is true.
If we were just not cocks to each other, it actually would work and be fine, you know? He's right.
Right. It's so like sweet and innocent, and you want to just like pat him on the head and be like, Michael. But like you can't, like it's beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful innocence.
Right. Because there is a certain sort of bravery to it too, where he was the richest, most privileged, most, you know, he had everything. Out of everybody in the world, he was the one who didn't need to go out on that limb and take up that voice. You know?
He was a real bleeding heart about that stuff. And he really was.
He really honestly felt that way and cared about that. Yeah. And put his tied his reputation to it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like how bad is it going to make you look if your brand is love and being kind? You know, it's not that risky, I guess, but still, he didn't need to, and he did. So like there's a certain sort of bravery to be that famous and still
it's weird because
espouse it. You know what I mean?
You know, like I would compare it to kind of like the Beatles are kind of known for that kind of shit too. But the Beatles do it in this really cheeky, almost kind of saccharine, like cute way, like in a way that they know that this is like a pop song, right? Because the Beatles were all very cynical guys deep down.
They're Scousers.
Yeah. Whereas Michael Jackson, you can tell it is genuine, dude. Like it is genuine. Like he really believes like we are the world, dude. Like we all could, what's the like hands around the world. Like we can all just like have a Coke or whatever. Like he, that is like the version of the world that he like wants to see exist in like a real way. Like he really thought he was working towards that end or something.
Yeah. Michael was a person where it was not cynical.
Yeah.
There was no ulterior motive.
Yeah.
He didn't need money.
No.
He didn't need fame.
The press kind of having it out for him at this particular period of time, I'm talking 1987, 1986, 87, the press kind of wanting to find ways, because I guess he wouldn't really give interviews like very often. So like one of the press would kind of go out of their way to write hit pieces about him as something to have to talk about him, right? But also, I mean, you can look at like how shitty like, you know, tabloid style journalism is and like all that kind of stuff, and you could say it was just the press out to get him, but it's also like Michael Jackson, it's like unforced error after unforced error after unforced error of like, dude, you're giving them the ammo to do this to you. Like hanging the baby off that was not 87.
The hanging
like,
of the baby,
hanging the baby off the ledge and shit. It's like,
God.
Dude, you're already like under so much scrutiny. And it's like, that's the kind of shit that he does, where it's like,
unforced
you
error.
hung a baby off a ledge, dude.
That's the both side, the heads and the tails of the coin that come with that, like not being connected with the reality, you know, like on the one side, it can give you that uncynical conclusion of like, well, let's all just be nice to each other then. And it's that simple. Yeah. You know, like you can reach that, you can feel that way when you're disconnected, but also it gives you those unforced errors that you're talking about, where it's like, dude, don't do that. What the fuck are you doing?
Don't do that.
And he's like, why? Why not? You know?
It's because he literally doesn't know how to move through the world as a human, as a normal human. He doesn't understand how weird and uncomfortable he's being, and like how kind of out of line and out of bounds he's being, which kind of leads me to, should we talk about it? Should we talk about it? I think we should, but let's
whether he did it or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Talk about it.
We're gonna get
it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so big question. Did he do it?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. Okay, so the production of Bad, this was sort of, I mean, like you said in the beginning, this is kind of the real reason to pick this for the podcast, right? To do an episode about it, because, I mean, it's historical significance, one thing, but it's just interesting sounding. It's just good music that sounds super fucking, like it's unique.
Yes.
You know, it's a unique sounding record.
Yes.
Because like, and we talked about this a little bit at the end of the Gorillaz episode last time, how, especially right now in like the mid 2020s, when you say 80s production, it evokes a whole thing. Right. 80s production is like a hot thing, right?
Yeah. But they're excising so
it's
like
certain 80s production.
Yeah. That's such like a loaded term now when you listen to an album like this, because it's like, dude, this is really what the 80s sounded like.
Right. There was a lot of production that was going on in the 80s that nobody does anymore.
Yeah. Like what is like the retro 80s sound that is popular now and has been popular for like 15 fucking years now is like a facsimile of what the 80s really
like
sounded like.
Selective memory through a memory filter, rose-colored glasses, something.
It's like what we dream the 80s were like. It's like a collective memory of what the 80s were like.
A collective hallucination.
Yeah,
that is based on what it was like. But,
but it's not really.
One of the main things that I feel is important to kind of say and shout from the rooftops about this album, like much of the music that came out in the 80s, it sounds like it is just made by a computer. It sounds like it's just made in a sequencer. It's all programmed synthesizers and digital whatevers, and coming out of the 60s and the 70s, it's like the end of music being played by humans.
Yeah.
And it's just music made in a box, and now that's pop music. And you know, I know a lot of people our age for a long time sort of held that view of music from the 80s.
Yeah.
I know I did for a long time.
I was such a hater of all 80s production.
I used to just blanket hate artists from the 80s for that reason.
Same. But this is more nuanced than that, though.
But right, and this is the thing, is that I want people to understand how much of what we are hearing is human performance.
Yeah, it's the tones they chose are very digital.
Yes.
Shitty tones.
Yes.
but there's people playing all this. Like, this is all people.
Right. All of the keyboards, all of the guitars.
Yeah.
These are real people's hands.
Even the drums.
That are playing the shit.
The drums are mostly real. They're just played on electronic drum kits that sound shitty.
Yeah. Somebody hit a stick onto a pad that triggered a digital sound, but a human performed that beat. Someone is playing it, right?
Yeah.
And,
a lot of it was acoustic drums. It just had that 80s like shine all over it that makes it sound really not like an acoustic drum kit anymore. But
which is good that you bring that up, because that brings us into one of the production techniques and methods that gives this album the sound that it has, which is layering, right? And in terms of drums, the way that shows up is it's the concept of, you know, like a lot of times when you think about, okay, how are we going to achieve the drums on this particular track? You think we need to go down one of two paths. Are we going to go down the path of acoustic drums, where we put microphones on a real drum kit and have a drummer play and we record that? Or are we going to go the route of electronic drums? You know, use a drum machine or something. But this album is like a paragon of this middle road type of production where there's both. So you have the sound of real drums, and you use those drumstick hits to trigger not just the sound of the drum and the microphone that you're getting, but that also triggers in this case, a sample or something from a drum machine. Like in this case, it's a Linn drum.
Right.
It is a major one.
Really famous, highly used, very expensive drum machine from the 80s. Probably late 70s even, actually.
And on this album, extensively uses especially the toms from the Oberheim DMX.
Okay.
And also the synclavier.
Right.
So we're going to talk a lot about the synclavier, because that is
I didn't realize was like $200,000 back then. Did you know that?
I didn't know that before researching this. I never had an understanding of how expensive a synclavier is.
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of get the sense that like that's why this sounds this way, is because they were like, well, what is the top of the line fucking shit that nobody else can get? And it's that. It's shit like that. It's the synclavier, and it's all the Linn and all this stuff. It's like, and it sounds really, really dated now, but at the time, it was like the most cutting edge, most expensive music gear around at the time. And it's like, if you're Michael Jackson, what else are you going to do? Of course you're going to do. You're the guy setting the pace for the whole music industry. Like, so of course you use the best, newest shit. It just happens to be 1987, and that shit sounds like ass now. So
it's really interesting to me because like I said before, I was born the year before this came out. So obviously I don't remember that time, but the earliest memories of what music sounded like and just like what was like a normal vibe and a normal sound for music was probably 92.
Yeah.
Which is the year that I went to visit my family in France that I was telling you about, when my cousin was obsessed with Michael Jackson, obsessed with this album. And so I remember really clearly what music was like in 92. I remember my big puffy ass jacket, that I wore. And it's trippy because that sound at that time, like, obviously it was not throwback. It was hot. It felt modern. It felt exciting. It was engaging. It was new. Because of how sharp everything was, because this is the beginning of digital synthesis, which we'll get into. But the main point that I'm trying to make is that this album is trippy, and it's a testament to the influentialness of Michael and his unlimited budget.
Yeah.
Just the fucking unlimited amount of money that he had to put toward the making of his album, which is that this album came out 5 years before that.
Right.
Which in musical tonality terms is forever. That's like an entire generation. That's how much time you need for the whole sound to change, is 5 years. And
I do get what you know
what I mean?
This sound persists well into the 93, 94. Like the sound that begins here on this album. But I guess what I was thinking is more like, there's the whole grunge movement, which was kind of a reaction against this kind of stuff. So we're both kind of right. I think in like pop music terms, though, you're absolutely right. In that, like,
stop dogging me around, Nate. No, yeah, you're right, because it persisted. But like for example, another one of the synthesizers that he used is the Roland D50. This is the Man in the Mirror synth.
The
ding, 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 ding.
ding, ding.
It's a patch that's called Afterthought.
Okay.
This synth was not released yet. So
wow.
Michael was getting new synths that the public couldn't even get yet.
Of course he was.
So,
if you're Roland, of course you want your unreleased synth to be on the upcoming Michael Jackson album, because that is going to give it the widest berth possible to be in the most ears possible. Everyone who then hears it is going to go, how do I get that sound? How do I get that sound? And you just sold 1 billion synthesizers like instantly by doing that.
To get the Man in the Mirror sound.
Right.
And so this is an important thing about synthesizers and music technology at this time that I really want to talk about, which ties into something that we were talking about in the Prodigy episode. So the early to mid 80s was a very important sort of turning point in synthesizers, because it was the beginning of digital synthesis. So before this point, synthesizers were friggin' everywhere. They all through the 70s, all sorts of great music being played with Moogs and Oberheims and Prophets and a bunch of great synth shit. But these were all analog. The sources of that sound were analog electronic components.
Yeah.
Right.
Circuits and they were tubes and all kinds of the stuff that we're familiar with in a pre-computer world.
Right. There was nothing computerized.
Yeah.
Which is so fascinating, because in comparison to what's coming next, it makes those synthesizers feel like a harp or a drum, or something very organic in comparison.
Some kind of ornate, bespoke.
It's so interesting, right? Because like just the fact that yes, this is like a futuristic modern sound. This is making the soundtrack to A Clockwork Orange. But all that you're hearing is electricity being passed through some circuits. You're hearing just real physical sources of the sound.
Right.
So in 83, the year after Thriller came out, so there's none of these instruments that are all over bad. None of them, the technology for them didn't even exist when Thriller came out. 83 is the beginning of digital synthesis, meaning that the source of the sound is from a computer.
Right.
Is from ones and zeros now. Right? And the way that this ties into what we were talking about in the Prodigy episode was we were talking about menu diving.
Yeah.
Okay. And how Liam Howlett was a genius, like a big part of the genius of the Prodigy was how proficient he was at getting into the parameters and the menus of these little amber and black little displays and getting into all the little ways that you can tweak this synthesizer.
Are you going to say this is what it sounds like when you don't know how to do that?
Yes. Exactly.
I agree with you.
Because
when you haven't learned to do that yet.
Right. Because
you're on the default patches.
The default patches. And this became a huge aspect of how music is made in the 80s.
I mean, the fact that you even just named a patch on one of the synthesizers.
The man in the mirror patch it's called Afterthought.
Yeah, it's a patch on the synth. You could just buy the synth and it's in there, and you could have the sound.
Right, and another synthesizer that was used heavily on this album and heavily on literally every album for the next 15 years after this, the Yamaha DX7
which is probably my favorite sounding digital synth.
It's incredible.
It's the best one.
It's the best. It's one of the originals. It's one of the first to have digital synthesis.
It's dope. Right? It's like really dope. It's the only digital synth from that time period that I actually would want. Like I would want one of those.
But a huge aspect of the DX7-ness of it is the use of presets, which is different than analog synths, the older ones, right? Like a Mini Moog, which we'll talk about as well, which is primarily what they used for a lot of the bass sounds on this record. In the analog world, there's literally no such thing as a preset.
Right.
Because
it's all just knobs and you're physically patching cables and sometimes like
what is a preset for your guitar?
Right.
What is a preset for your piano?
Sure.
It doesn't have one because it's just an instrument and it's sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's in the state that you left it in.
Yeah.
And if you want to tweak it, you got to walk up and tweak it. That's what analog synthesizers are like. But digital ones are not like that. And it's so funny to me how the prevalence of the reusing of different artists on different albums and different years, the reusing of these presets, it's not born out of convenience. It's born out of how fucking hard it is to menu dive on these things.
Sure.
Because of the learning curve that it takes to be able to even understand all these menus, what all these parameters mean, all the abbreviations that they have to use in these little tiny window screens on the menus because they can only hold like 10 characters. And it's just like, you can just imagine all these old school musicians who are just gifted piano players and keyboard players.
Now they have
look
a computer.
At it, like, fuck that.
It's like a dumb...
Screw that, dude.
It's a stupid computer they have to fucking figure out. It's like, whatever,
right.
That sounds cool, whatever.
And that's why you get this big divergence of the rise of this new kind of musician like Liam Howlett, like the types of people that we were talking about in the Prodigy episode, where the basis of their artistry is not their skills with the keys, with the piano. Their skill is with the menu diving.
Yeah. Who if you were to ask some of the keyboard players on this album, like if they considered someone like Liam Howlett a musician, a lot of them would probably say no.
Yeah, right. Not
he
like
doesn't.
Me.
Yeah,
right.
So
so the other side of that divergence is all the dudes who are geniuses with the keys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who went to Juilliard, who went to all this. You know what I mean?
Who played with like Bill Evans and are now playing the most awful organ sound.
Incredible, gifted people with the actual instrument for them, it's the opposite. For them, they look at the menu, they're like, "Fuck that." Dude.
Yeah, just
right?
just whatever
and
that
so,
sound, whatever.
And so that whole there's an entire huge portion of the music industry where now, for decades after this, there's gonna be record after record after record after record that are made with the exact same synthesizer presets over and over and over again.
And you hear that going well into the early 90s. I think early 90s, yeah. Like you hear, like it, you know where it really where you really hear it is like in video game music. Like music on like Sega Genesis and shit. Like it sounds like bad. And there was rumors for years that were only confirmed in 2022 that Michael Jackson composed all the music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
He did?
Well, they threw it out after the allegations. So he did it, and then the allegations came out.
The allegations that we went very in depth into earlier.
Which I'm sure you guys don't want to hear us wax on about anymore, so we won't. But like after that...
Yeah, we already talked about it enough.
After that happened, they threw all his music out. But he was supposed to supposedly do the music for Sonic 3, which is crazy. And
is it out there anywhere? Can we hear it?
I don't know. I think one of the songs turned into something that is on either History or Dangerous. I can't remember. But
interesting.
Like they reworked it into something that came out on one of his albums. But that's what it sounds like to me. It's like Bad just sounds like the beginnings of like that 90s video game music sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you're articulating a very interesting thing, which is that in so many ways, this Bad it's a transition point for definitely for Michael Jackson, but for the transition from analog to digital, the transition from not just analog recording to digital recording, but analog instrumentation to digital instrumentation. Yeah. And it's not that this is like the clean line break.
Right.
It's like it's the middle ground. It's where there's still vinyl and CDs of this coming out, right? This is the overlap period is 87, is this weird middle ground where the whole industry is shifting on the basis of like, is Michael Jackson going to release the biggest album ever to follow Thriller or not? So.
Dude, by the way, it's sort of interesting how he didn't hit that mark of 100 million, which he wrote on his mirror. Sell more copies than Thriller, make Thriller. I mean, make the next album be respected more than Thriller or whatever. But
he did sell 35 million copies at the time.
Right. He ended up making the second biggest album in human history. But in some metrics, like it even is bigger. Like I was looking at the King James Wikipedia and it fucking trips me out, dude. 8 out of the 10 songs, or if you count Leave Me Alone, 9 out of the 11 songs on this album were released as singles.
And 5 #1 singles in a row.
Right.
Which before is nuts.
Before this, there had only ever been 3 #1 singles on an album. This one had 5.
5. Yeah.
And they were 5 in a row. The first 5 singles that were released, which was I Just Can't Stop Loving You.
Which is Bad, a weird first
The Way
single.
You Make Me Feel. It's very bizarre. Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Dirty Diana. The first 5 in a row, and all #1.
And that's not even Smooth Criminal, which also had a video and I'm sure did really well, but like that's not even counted. And Smooth Criminal is interesting because
I feel so it was big at the time, but Smooth Criminal is held in higher regard now than it was then.
That's true. I think because the stupid Alien Ant Farm cover. I literally think that's why.
It brought it back.
I think that's why. is they were like, let's do a great Michael Jackson song, but maybe one that people wouldn't expect. And that has catapulted that Michael Jackson tune up into his like upper echelon of
kind
tunes.
of made people go like, dude, is this low-key like one of his best songs ever?
Which I gotta think it is. It's pretty great.
Dude, also, Bad was obviously the best-selling record of the year that it came out. It was also following year. The best-selling record of the year after it came out.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I hate to bring him up because he's such a jackass, but I had this is a total sidebar, but I had the thought that Bad is the Yeezus to Thriller's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Which makes me think Kanye West did that on purpose. In that, like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is like this it sounds so organic and like fluid like Thriller does. And it's got all these great like performances on it like Thriller does. And then you go to Yeezus, which is this really like angular, like, like, and that's kind of what Bad sounds like to me. It's like this very angular, like,
I think that Bad has a musical like depth to it that remains once you get past the tones used.
Yeah,
that I don't know if the same is true of Yeezus.
No,
you know, because Bad. I feel like this feels familiar. I feel like we've talked about an album in this way before, where it's like if you can get past the timbre, right? In musical terms, timbre is basically like the quality of the sound.
Yes.
Is it gritty? Is it smooth? Or, you know, like the texture, rather than anything other than the note. Like, does it sound grindy or does it sound round or whatever? You know, that's the timbre. Once you get past the timbre of the notes that are on this album, what is off about it? What is angular about it? What is off? What is aggressive about it? You know, like it's musically, it's there. It's literally the timbre of all these brand new digital things being recorded onto digital tape. It's not being rounded off by analog tape. Also, right? It was recorded on what is it called? The freaking
is it DAT?
No, it was also brand new. Something that came out in 1985. It's a Mitsubishi X850.
Oh.
So this is a tape machine. That can record 32 digital tracks.
Interesting.
On 1-inch digital tape.
Wow.
So this is recorded straight to, it's either 48 or 44.1K 16-bit audio. Straight in. So,
and this was on fucking like Apple II computers.
Right. So there is a mellowing out and a rounding off and a gentilizing that analog tape gives to a lot of records that are like this. But dude, they spent $2 million in 1987 to record this. This is like these digital synths straight down the pipe. This is as pristine and lossless as you can possibly get it.
Yeah.
And this shit is angular.
It is. Do you think it's bright, too bright?
It's brittle.
Yeah. You already said it. You beat me to it. It's a very bright sounding. Yeah, brittle. It's a tough, the tones on the album are really tough to get past. Like, and yeah, it sucks because the songs are there. I really think the songs are
musically,
there. Musically,
it's legit.
Michael is faultless. I think Michael's unbelievable. His performances on every song are like faultless. Like he's unbelievable. But yeah, it is the tones. And you know, it makes sense when you think about it. When you put it in terms of like, these are the first digital synthesizers, it's like, this is, at the time, it's like, this is the worst they're ever going to sound. It's only going up from here, but this is the first one. Like, so of course looking back on it, of course they kind of sound bad now. Like, cause it's like, they didn't have the development time, the time for people to like get to know them and get inside and out of them and work with them. You know?
When you get a new toy, or when you first, discover that you can do something, you like, there's no moderation.
Yeah.
You just like go for it, And so, like in the intervening years, things like grunge happened, and everybody like wanted to go back to organic ideals and stuff, and it got kind of corrected. And then now in the mid '90s, there's a bunch of synthesizer music where people they kind of came back to the middle of the spectrum.
Yeah,
and it's sort of,
and they found ways to soften it
there ever since,
and
you even get
appealing.
modern styles like dubstep and shit that happened 10 years ago or whatever, right? Where the
angularness like is the point.
Is the point.
Yeah.
However, they are even like made listenable, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to quite put your finger on it, because they're intentionally being inorganic, but they're presented in a way that can be organically appreciated.
Yes.
So they found they found how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas this, to me, what
they
it
hadn't
sounds
yet found how to do it.
what it sounds like to me is you already nailed it, which is just like, it's great musicians that just have no time to like figure out this stupid fucking computer keyboard. Like they're just like, whatever, dude. Like to them, they're like, I can make anything sound good because they can. And it's like, you're almost right.
Yeah, new sounds, play it, and also too, to go back to the synclavier. So like we were talking about. So the synclavier is a super expensive synthesizer. It's like a synthesizer suite. It's like multiple things, multiple devices, all connected, and it's sort of like modular. So like you can have certain parts of it and not other parts of it or whatever, right? And the full boat, the full thing, could cost like $200,000 in the 80s.
That's what I saw too.
Which is like $10 billion in 2026. I don't know.
For a fucking piece of gear.
And so Michael Jackson at his house had like the full decked
thing.
Out everything, right?
Yeah.
And how you were talking about B Team and A Team. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, yeah,
because this is really important.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's back it up. Let's give the whole thing. We haven't even talked about Quincy Jones yet.
I was going to say, how have we not talked? I was going to say maybe standout songs we should try to weave them in. But
we haven't even talked about Quincy Jones.
No.
So Quincy was like this era of greatness, of great music, Michael music. It's the duo. It's Michael and Quincy.
It is. They were Lennon and McCartney in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Michael intentionally moved away from Quincy Jones for Dangerous, the follow-up to this, because he didn't want to be perceived as like relying on Quincy Jones for his success. And I'm like, well, maybe you should have, because Dangerous isn't as good. Like, it sucks.
The question of why did they not work together after this, like, is sort of down to, the answer to that question depends on who you ask, sort of a thing, like that, not a super.
I think it's reasonable that he wanted to Michael Jackson wanted to work with other producers. That's normal,
But they sort of started butting heads during the production of this album because Michael took the B Team. Michael took it upon himself to start setting up recording sessions that Quincy Jones was not a part of, that took place at Michael's house, in his studio that he had at his house.
Have you seen his home studio at that house?
I've seen little snippets of video of it.
So dope. It's a fucking real studio.
It's a full-blown... I mean, dude, of course, it's at Michael Jackson's house.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking...
Like
the bass players of one-hit wonder bands have full-blown recording studios in there. I mean, look at where I'm sitting. I'm fucking nobody.
Yeah. Same.
I
mean,
have not made anything of note at all. Both of us. And look, we're sitting in studios in our houses.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
So imagine what Michael Jackson's home studio is like, you know? Fucking, yeah. So he started having recording sessions for Bad at his house.
Which were the demos. Have you heard these demos?
So
they're so good. A lot of it sounds better than Bad to me. Like, I'm sorry.
A lot of it sounds better, and a lot of it
sounds more natural.
A lot of the finished product of Bad is even from those demos, right? Because the people who were working on it, they were never told that these are demos.
Right.
Michael was talking to them like, hey, let's start making my next record. And they're like, okay. So this is people like John Barnes, Michael Boddicker, Glenn Ballard, people like that, right? And they're in there, and they are in there with Michael's synclavier. Mm-hmm. And they start making new. One of the cool things that you can do with a synclavier is you can make new sounds.
Is this like
out of it? You can sample stuff.
The car sound.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
the car in the beginning of Speed Demon.
Yep.
All of those like creepy sounds that I was talking about before. The like also the beginning of Beat It from Thriller.
Right.
You know, the down. That's created on a synclavier. In Smooth Criminal. The heartbeat, they like literally recorded Michael's heart and put it in the synclavier and like tweaked
sampled
it,
and
made
shit.
It sound cool and shit. Yeah, man. So they were working on all this stuff, and then you know comes the time where Quincy Jones starts calling up Michael Jackson. He's like, hey, we should start working on your next album, right? And Michael's like, yeah, let's do it. Let me bring in you know, some preliminary stuff that I have. Okay, great. So they go to Westlake Studios, which
is a real great studio.
Another great studio that's not.
But I mean, that's like a real studio, not at his house.
Yeah. And so in there is, you know, Quincy Jones, who produced Off the Wall and Thriller.
And Bruce Swedien.
Yeah, Bruce Swedien, Greg Phillinganes.
Mm-hmm. This is the real team. Legend. This is the real people who are like, all right, we're the real guys, the label's like paying millions of dollars to make the next Michael Jackson album.
So Michael shows them the stuff that he's been making at his house with this other team, and they're like, wait, what the fuck?
Because it sounds so good.
Yeah, like, are you making an album without us? What the fuck are you doing? What the hell, dude?
I think Bruce Swedien, he said something. I saw an interview where he was like, just imagine like how good a Michael Jackson demo sounds. Like it sounded like a finished record already. Let me put it that way. Like, and it was upsetting to everybody because they thought that he went and made the album already. And that, cause like, it's like, and I'm serious. Like literally, if you're listening to this, like pause, go listen to the Bad demos. It's so, they're so good.
They should be called the good demos.
Yeah, they really should. Like it sounds in a lot of ways, and it's stupid to even call them demos because the demo has this connotation of like tape, like little tape recorder or something. No, dude, this is a full like 32, 48 channel console with like analog tape.
This is what I mean. This team at his house, they were not making demos. They were not under the impression that they're making demos. They're making his next fucking album.
Yeah.
And then he brings it in and talk about like the threat to your job security. You know, you're Quincy Jones, you're Bruce Swedien, you're Greg Phillinganes. It's like being Michael's guy is my meal ticket.
Dude, big time.
This is like who I am to the world. Like this is all I got, man. Yeah. And Michael comes in and is like, dude, you're working without me. You're undercutting me. Like alarm bells ringing, right?
Which again is just another typical Michael thing of like, he just doesn't know how to operate in the world as like a normal human. Cause like, of course they would feel that way. And to him, he's like, he has no idea why that would upset anybody. You know, he's naive.
And God forbid he have the audacity to like operate as though he is the actual creative source.
That's true.
Of everything. And
That's
like
true.
he actually is the one and he could do whatever he wants, right?
That's true.
But which also, sidebar, is a great thing to point out. If people don't realize, when people say that Michael Jackson wrote a song, they literally mean that. He actually did write this song. And it's trippy because he doesn't play any instruments.
It's the one thing he doesn't really do. Like, apparently he does play piano or something, and I guess he's pretty good.
Wow. But I've never seen or heard this.
I heard that from, I watched the Spike Lee documentary Bad 25 that Spike Lee made. And it was one of his keyboard players was like, yeah, he could play piano like pretty good. But it's like, I don't think that's how he wrote though.
No, he wrote with his voice.
He wrote with his voice.
All these bass lines. Billie Jean, Thriller, Bad, all these like legendary ass bass lines, drum beats, percussion. Yep. He did play percussion though. And like the other demos that are cool to check out are the demos for Off the Wall.
Oh yeah.
That he recorded at, I think it was the home studio at like the Jackson family house.
Oh wow.
And his brothers and sisters were in those demos for Off the Wall. Oh. And they would play like shakers and bang like drumsticks on Coke bottles and stuff to establish like want to be starting something and everything. But the bass lines and the chord changes and everything, he would write them and put them down as demos with his voice.
Like the Billie Jean demo is a really good example of this. Like, because it's like those little who
exactly
like that shit. That's from the demo. That was
the
like
reason
him
why that's in there is because he needed to sing those to establish what the chord shape is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But that just ends up being,
it's in the song because it's rad. It's fucking dope. Is why it's in the song.
And Bad is him writing more of the songs than he had on his previous albums.
I think he wrote like 60 tracks for this, and he wanted to do 30, and Quincy talked him down to 11 or 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah. This was going to be a massive thing, 3 LPs or something.
They should have let him do
They chopped it down. And I know. Can you imagine what got cut out?
It would have sold. It would have broken the sales records he wanted.
People would have bought anything.
People would have bought it. It would have and it would have broke the sales records because they could have charged double.
We got 11 songs. There's still a couple skippers.
There is,
I don't know. I don't know. But what the fuck were we talking about? A team and B team. So A team is like, what the hell is going on, dude? This is very threatening. Then Michael is like, okay, we're here at Westlake now. Let's use some of these tracks that I recorded at my house and start incorporating them into the final version of the songs. And the A-Team guys are like, trying to find ways of like, no, we got to re-record these. We got to re-perform these. No. Let's do it again. And so Michael's like, okay, great. I'll bring in the guys who've been working with me at my house, and they come into Westlake and just imagine that. Like, hi guys, how's it going? I'm Steve. And Quincy Jones and Bruce are like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
What is going on? There's just a lot of
they want to
conflict.
They want to exert their control over the project and get paid more by having to redo it all.
Michael Jackson is the ultimate gold egg laying goose, and these are the people who just made Thriller with him. You can imagine,
dude,
how much you do not want to let go of this goose,
right?
You got to stay his guy.
And to be fair, the flip side to that, to be fair, is like Quincy Jones is a genius. Like, he's a brilliant genius. And the things that he brought to Thriller were unbelievable. Like, I really do believe Thriller is as great as it is because of the two of them, not just Michael Jackson. Like, Quincy Jones is like, he's unbelievable and like what he was able to do. And he was a genius musical mind. So, I mean, it would behoove Michael Jackson as well to like, dude, use this guy. Like,
right.
use
No,
this guy.
you're right. There's also just that pride of like, not only like, ooh, I'm lucky that I made Thriller, but also, dude, I fucking made Thriller.
Yeah.
You should listen to what I have to say.
Absolutely.
I am the one. I'm the one on the A team. Let's make this album with me because I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bruce Swedien, by the way, we've mentioned him a bunch of times. He's the primary mixing engineer of all this stuff.
And recording engineer. He was the tracking engineer as well.
Oh, and both. Okay, cool. And his contributions are fucking massive.
Yeah.
Like there's the story of when they were mixing Billie Jean, which has probably the best drum sound in all of recorded music history, right? The beginning of that song, dude, catch, cat. That's like, that is how you want drums to sound. The performance is performed by a drummer named Indugu, fucking legend. There's the story of when they were mixing that song that, Bruce Swedien just got his mix like how he wanted it. Like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Then Michael and Quincy come into the room, listen to it. Okay, let's tweak this. Let's try this. Let's mess with this. And they just couldn't find it. They knew how important this was. They knew how big of a single this was going to be. They wanted to get it right. And they just kept version after version after version after version of the mix. All this is on analog tape. Mm-hmm. So each version is literally there on a piece of tape. And they've been doing it for days. And there's over 100 versions of the mix of Billie Jean at this point. And they're just like not happy. And they decide like, okay, let's start over. Let's just go back to the beginning. And they put on version number 1.
Right.
Which Bruce had done. And they were like, dude, that's
definitely the version. Yes, I've heard that
story
story as well.
Right here. And that's the final version.
I heard in the Bad 25, the Spike Lee documentary, he brought up something interesting that he did that I didn't quite understand. And I forget the term he used for it, but basically what he said, when they recorded the drums for this, they would put the drum kit on top of like a I don't know, it was probably like a 6-8 inch like wooden platform, right? And I believe the platform, it kind of seemed like it was hollow. I couldn't really tell, but he said in the documentary, there was like a technique that by doing that, you were able to actually get better isolation like between microphones, and it would like reduce the bleed between microphones. And that made no sense to me at all because I'm just like, how and why would that be the case? But he had like a term for it. I'm forgetting now. But they said that it worked so well that they just started like recording everything on that box. Like it was like a drum platform box. And they said the drum sounded so good. They started having Michael stand on that drum platform to record all his vocals as well. And it gave his vocals.
Oh, you mean they started putting things that are not the drums on that too?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So like they did a bunch of overdubs that way. And he's just like a really genius engineer who like there's another thing, like the way they did the claps on this record, which is something it's like it's very obvious, and we've done this in a way that was using like a plugin, I think, but where they would to get all the claps for like Man in the Mirror, like with the big choir, what they did is like they did a full take with the full choir, whole choir clapping along, right, as like an overdub. And same, like they recorded Michael Jackson's snaps this way. And then what they did is they sped the tape up like 15% and had everyone clap along the same way. And then when they put the tape back at the normal speed, they had a super fat low clap that they layered with the regular claps, right?
Because now it's sped down.
So they had these like pitched down claps that they had recorded at a fast speed. It's like shit like that is just like really back in the day. I bet you I know for a fact that was just like the way you do stuff. But like to us now, like where we just like record in the box where everything's just like a plug in, it's like, no, that's really fucking cool and smart, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. There's other pieces of gear that are so important on this that even besides the synthesizers and the tape machine, like something that is dime a dozen now is a reverb unit, the Lexicon PCM 70, which again preset because this is now digital reverb, digital effects. Same thing, that huge barrier to usability of these perplexing menus. So now there's a preset called gated chamber. And, you know, when people talk about 80s production, that's the first thing that they bring up. Oh, gated reverb, you know, the sound of the 80s. It's like, it's that preset. It's all over this album. And there's an effects unit called the Yamaha Rev 5, which has a preset in it that slightly pitches up the left channel and slightly pitches down the right channel. So, which is really interesting because it gives the stereo effect.
Right. It's fake stereo. Yeah.
But it's interesting because the most conventional way that a lot of music producers do that is using time delay.
Like a delay, yeah.
Right. Which is making the left channel happen slightly earlier or later in time than the right ear, the right channel. But this one does that same thing with pitch. So they're in time, but there's still this phasing stereo thing that makes the sound pop out. This was a lot of times used on the guitars on this album, like the Another Part of Me guitar thing. Ba-doo-ba-doo-be-doo.
Yep.
Ba-doo-ba-doo-be-doo. Where it makes it poke through the mix, and it's so cool. It has that same sort of stereo feel, but it doesn't feel quite the same because it's not with time, it's with pitch.
Yeah. And it makes things sound kind of fatter too.
Yeah.
And
very digital.
Yeah. I think
very 87.
It's interesting the more we kind of pull on each of these individual kind of spaghetti strands of the production, because like in a vacuum, each one of these elements can be kind of cool and used in the right way. They are cool and they don't inherently sound bad necessarily, but it's when they're all presented at once, just kind of in the very flat, like every single sound you're hearing is like the preset sound straight out of the fucking box. Like,
and there isn't anything else.
Yeah. Like that's the problem with the production. It's to me, it's not necessarily that any of these sounds sound like super, super bad on their own, but as a whole, as a collection, as the whole piece of work on the album that you have to sit through, it's just it's like overwhelming. Like it's too much of this, you know?
I think I have to differ from you on that. And this is a purely subjective thing. It's, you know, it's purely opinion.
Do you think it all does sound like shit?
No. I like how it sounds. I think it sounds cool.
Okay.
I like it.
I'm kind of in the middle. Like but
it's just taste. You know, like it's not, it is good. It's just, you know, like,
leave a comment on this web video.
Some people like the taste of licorice and some don't, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Leave a comment. What do you think of Michael Jackson's bad production?
The last synth that I want to talk about before we move on is the Moog, the mini Moog.
Oh yeah.
Because even in this album that is like the love letter to digital synths and their emergence, there's still such a prominent place for the old school Moog synth and the mini Moog, which is like, it's super old. It might even be from the 60s.
It could be late 60s or early. I think it's early 70s,
something like that.
Yeah.
But it is used most prominently on this album as the bass. And this is something that I want to highlight on this one is
there is some bad bass keyboard sounds on this though.
Bad like bad or bad like, dude, that shit is bad.
Bad like it sucks. Like it's like dun, dun. It's like the Seinfeld bass, some of it.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think that's the mini Moog.
No, because
the mini Moog sounds cool.
It sounds good. Yeah. I'm talking about the one in the song Bad and the song, my favorite, Man in the Mirror.
Yes.
Performed by Greg Phillinganes. So I have always had a love for synth bass ever since I saw it performed in person by these different players like Greg Phillinganes at Center Staging when I worked there. I never understood how much artistry and how much musicianship there is to a synth bass performance.
There has to be. You have to put that in.
And how unique it is compared to a bass line that's performed on an electric bass with strings. And it's really fascinating because it's taking up that same place in the musical arrangement, you know? There's that hole that needs to be occupied only by the bass part that only can be. But when it's performed with an electric bass and it was performed with a synth bass, you would think that they're just two different flavors of accomplishing the same thing, but they're so different. Just the fact that you're performing it on a keyboard gives, and it's coming from the musical mind of a person who's going to be occupying that bass space using black and white keys as opposed to a fret, a neck. It just gives different, like a different musical mind approaches it, you know?
Oh shit.
The synth bass. Right? So my two favorite ones on here are Bad.
Yep.
So this is just like my little fake mini Moog sound. You get like these little embellishments and like R&B-ness and like soul into the bass performance that you can't get with a real bass. You know, you have the...
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like with the little pitch bend wheel.
Little like glissandos.
Yeah. Little things.
Yep.
And how that gap in the bass line goes away in the chorus, which I never noticed it was there until I learned how to play this. So the standard bass line, gap, gap. When it goes to the chorus, dun, 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 because I'm bad. It doesn't have that gap. It just like goes along with the drums, kicking, dun, 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 dun. You know,
that feels like a Michael note.
Right. He wrote this bass line with his voice.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And then it was performed by somebody else. Then Man in the Mirror, like toward the end of the song, when it just boom, make that change. All these things, like nobody's going to play that on a fretted bass.
Yeah, you kind of can't really.
These little, I mean, like the notes are there. You could play it, but it's just when it's laid out on a keyboard like this, it leads you to make different decisions. There's a certain like harmonic place where you want to go when you're making the decisions with keys than with the frets. I don't even know how to describe it, but it just leads to stuff like that. And then because you have the mode, you can end the song. Standout songs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You always give me shit. I don't remember who went first or second. I don't know. It
Dude,
could only be one or the
stop
other. So do you want to go
dogging
first?
me around? Do you guys see how much he dogs me around?
You
and I'm
go.
always saying,
you go first. I don't care.
Stop dogging me around.
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah, please.
My first one is the song Bad.
Okay, nice.
All I wrote in my notes is it's good. No, I mean, this is fucking, like to lead off because like we were talking about before, imagine you got a follow-up Thriller.
Mm-hmm.
What is the first song of this new album gonna be? I think, dude, how much better can you do? Like,
it's true.
You pretty much you fit the bill. Like,
it's true.
It has to be a larger than life
Yeah.
thing with a theme.
Yeah.
The theme has to be fresh in comparison to your older work. And
Right.
It's like,
it's great for the video concept, which we haven't even talked about how amazing all of his music videos were around this time.
One of the main things that I did in preparation for this episode, by the way, is I watched the music video for the Weird Al song Fat.
Which is arguably better than Bad. That is possible. I think that might be my very favorite Weird Al parody song is Fat.
Also, too, how that little like synth melody, it has like contrary motion when the bass line goes up. And the little synth goes dee 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 dee.
Yeah.
Dee 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 dee. It goes down when the bass line goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Nasty.
There's so much. Like you brought up like the layering on this album. There's just like seriously, when you when you're listening to this album, just pinpoint stereoscopically with your ears, pinpoint like a sound and just follow that sound like throughout the recording. Just listen to it the whole time. Like there's guitar stuff that's like really subtle, but it's like super funky and like, but it's like panned all the way to the left and it's like low, but it's like, it's right there and it's like super, super groovy. Like it's, I don't know.
Yeah. This is,
it's a very musical album despite sounding so like digital,
right, yeah, but which like I was saying, I mean, this album is it's made like how the best movies are made, like where nothing is there by accident.
Yes,
and since it's there, it's going to be so thoroughly thought out. This is like some Kubrick, fucking
Scorsese. I mean, Scorsese did the video for this song.
Back to the Future level, like intentionality.
Yeah,
with just everything. Yeah.
It really does. Like this album does set itself apart from all the other records we've done. Really, in that, like you hear the money. Like you could say you hear the artistry in like all the albums we've done. Like there's
like Philosophy of the World.
Yeah, exactly. But like this one, you hear like the money and and the money comes in the form of giving the greatest musicians on earth like the room to like develop insanely cool and satisfying parts that are like tiny in comparison to like the bass line maybe, but like are super funky and like just good. And like every part of every song, and I'm speaking definitely about Bad as well, is like every part is like groovy and like in the pocket and funky and like percussive. In like a lot of the ways that like a lot of our favorite like reggae like productions can be. But yeah, they're all placed like just so, like you're saying, like.
And this is another thing that separates it from that understanding of that this album and music from the 80s was made by a computer. It's like when you listen to music that really is actually all sequenced and there's no human performance, and you compare it to this, it is night and day. Where there's no bounce, there's no feel, there's no groove, there's no shuffle, there's no anything.
It's because it's the music you're talking about is a computer playing music, and what this is amazing musicians playing a computer.
Playing computers.
Yeah, which is different.
what you just said just so eloquently puts the whole thing where like the misconception is that this drum machine is a computer playing music. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a person playing a computer.
Yeah.
That's like the best way that I've ever heard anybody say it.
You're welcome.
You got bars in this episode, man.
Thank you.
Okay, next fucking... See how brilliant you are when you just stop dogging me around for a second? Okay, the next standout is Man in the Mirror.
Okay.
Dude, what a song.
My only problem with this is how is it only a standout for you?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, well,
Jesus.
That's a testament. That's a testament to the quality of songs that are on this album.
Know what? And this is the perfect song to demonstrate this point. This is the biggest thing I want to get at in this section of the show. Now that we've already talked about the production, but I'm sure we'll mention it more, is that despite all the misgivings you as a listener or we may have about the production or how this was made or the timbre of the music or whatever, dude, the songs are all here. These songs are fucking unbelievable. And I will say right now, if we're going to talk about Man in the Mirror is my favorite and best. I think it is.
Okay.
This song floored me, like listening to it for this.
Favorite, best. Man in the Mirror.
Yeah, Man in the Mirror.
And it's a good pick for that, man. I mean, I already talked about the synth bass. Like clued you in on how passionate I am about synth bass as a thing. This is I feel this is the greatest synth bass performance ever recorded. Greg Fillinganes throwing down.
I'm glad that's the stuff about it you like, because that's the stuff about it that kind of is there for me, but it's not the stuff that I honed in on. For me, it's all the human elements of the song. First off, it's the substance of the lyrics, which this is one of the only songs he didn't write on this.
That's right, he did not.
But
it was written by what's her name? The woman who wrote the lyrics.
I can't say her name.
Sita Garrett.
Sita Garrett. There it is.
Sita Garrett, and the music was written by Glenn Ballard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, this is when it comes to like one of those songs where it's like, you love this about Michael Jackson, that he really saw the world through this lens that like, if I can change myself for the better, then I can change the world in my own little small way. And I just happen to be Michael Jackson. And if I can do it and I can change the world, then you can do it.
Then so can you.
So
exactly.
can you.
Exactly.
Like, yes, I can. And so can you. And I love that about it. It's genuinely like, I believe him because I can tell he believes it. And it's very inspirational. It's a very inspirational song in like a very genuine way for me. And also it's the human elements in the production that really stand out to me. It juxtaposed to all the stuff you've already brought up, like the fucking choir. The choir on this song is so powerful. And we haven't even talked about the gospel ass.
All my bullet points.
Yeah, the gospel assness of this song and this album is just like, man, they are throwing down on this song. And like
Andre Crouch choir. Do you know who Andre Crouch is?
I don't, but I saw him in the documentary that I watched. But he's clearly good at wrangling a choir.
So when I was at Center Staging, I was in the room for, the Michael rehearsals for This Is It. I mixed for Prince. I mixed for Stevie Wonder, for Elton John, for Paul McCartney, for freaking ELO, fucking all kinds of shit. Amazing, amazing. Roger Daltrey. The list goes on. The coolest session that I was ever a part of was Andre Crouch.
Wow.
I got to be in there for a couple weeks with Andre Crouch. They were getting ready for and rehearsing for it, and then they filmed like a live performance of his. So Andre Crouch is definitely one of possibly like the most respected, greatest gospel artists in American gospel history. And so he wrote, he did the music for The Color Purple. Is like kind of his most famous
Spielberg, Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
I think that's her Oscar movie, right? Didn't she win an Oscar for that?
I believe that is correct. Yes. Yeah. That's like the Color Purple is like his most famous contribution to the secular world, but within gospel music, specifically within religious music, he's like he's the one. You can feel the pedigree, the effect that it has when him and his choir are on Man in the Mirror.
Yeah.
Like, it's the real deal.
It's so good. It might be the best sounding choir I've ever heard recorded.
Andre Crouch and his choir are one of the best choirs that there has ever been. There's a big division within American black music between secular music and music that is not secular, right? It's a different industry. Like in South Park, when Cartman wanted to win a gold album, he couldn't do it because in the Christian music they only do frankincense and myrrh albums, you know? We know this. But seriously, like we said before, let it be known, the best community of musicians that
Hold on, you weren't being serious about Cartman and South Park?
No, believe it or not, I wasn't. The best community of musicians that there are is American black church musicians.
Yeah.
And so when Michael goes to get a choir, he gets the best, not the best black choir, the best gospel choir.
One of the things that I wonder if Michael brought this to the track or if it was him and the choir that brought this, because it feels like a very gospel choir move, is the fucking key modulation in this song that hits like a fucking freight train.
Change!
It's so
on the word change.
Dope. It's so dope.
The key change happens on the word change. Yes.
Don't you think that feels, one, the key modulation as a songwriting and production thing? It's like documented that like there's right now we are living in a time where there are fewer key modulations and key changes within the structure of a song than ever before. Like it's like people don't do it anymore.
And I'm just like, vogue.
Why though?
It's out of style at the moment.
Why though? And it hurts me because I listen to something like this.
Why though? I don't know.
I listen to something like this and I'm just like, Sabrina Carpenter, come on, girl. Your shit's already dope. Do a fucking key change.
Girl.
Modulate, girl. You can do it. You can sing. You're all right. Yeah. Like you got this. Change the key.
Maybe it got oversaturated, you know?
Maybe.
But you know what that means though, since we're in a period of time where there's an absence of it.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
It's got to.
Any year now, everyone's going to start doing it.
You know what the thing is, though, is I kind of don't think so. I actually kind of don't think so because the key modulation as a move.
You think that the pattern that has been constant throughout all of fucking history is just magically going to stop today? Okay.
I kind of do. Right. And I think I have a reason for it. I kind of do. And the reason for that is because of how formulaic pop music already is and how much more formulaic it's getting because of fucking AI writing tools, because of songwriters using AI as like a writing tool. An AI would never fucking modulate a key.
Why not? I mean, because all it does,
I think it's because it's too sophisticated.
Language model does is it just looks back at what people have done before and just do it again, but differently.
But think about it. The things that large language models as a tool that they're probably drawing on is probably the last 30 years of music when there's no key changes anymore. Right. So it's just going to self-reinforce that habit of not doing that trick. And plus, I think it takes a very astute, mature musical mind and a mind rooted in like traditional American music to even fucking have the foresight to be like, oh, I'm going to change the key right now. And like songwriting has never been at like a dumber state than right now. So like, I just like it's like a Tin Pan Alley, Chitlin Circuit, like kind of type of musical mind where they were rooted in like we play music, right? And like that's not really how music is written or composed anymore. Like it's totally different. It's totally foreign to that. The humble origins that would birth something like a key modulation from Quincy Jones, right? Like, so no, I actually don't think it's coming back. I think it's only going to get worse and dumber. But
so you're saying that whole thing that like change is the only constant that has been true forever, except not now.
It doesn't mean it doesn't mean things aren't changing. It just doesn't mean they're changing for the better. It doesn't mean they're not chinging.
Okay.
It's just things are just changing for the worse. That's all.
We'll see.
Anyway,
earmark this episode, folks.
Yeah.
Put this one in a time capsule. We'll come back and see if Nate was right or if he's just dogging me around as usual.
After Palantir drone strikes you for talking poorly about their choice of key change from their songwriting assault bot.
Yeah. But yeah, man, fucking Man in the Mirror. I'm glad that you talked about how inspirational it is.
Love it.
And it's really a testament to that because Michael had, he was really committed to writing, taking full control and writing the material on his new album that was going to follow Thriller. And this song, Sita Garrett, like succeeding and actually presenting him to a song.
She like pitched it.
Right. And the fact that he could actually like resonate with it, what it means, what it's saying, that he could get behind, he could identify with the message. This was the first song written by another person that he was even willing to entertain for like over 2 years.
Yeah, he was like humble enough to recognize like, oh, like I could interpret this in a way that would make it like my song. Like, even though
this was the first song in all that time that was powerful enough that like actually was connected to what he felt and what he wanted to say. That like he wouldn't feel disingenuous singing these words
as his own. Yeah. And it's a testament to what a good job she did because it's the most like Michael Jackson-y song.
Right.
Like it's the pure essence of Michael is contained in Man in the Mirror in a way that a lot of other songs on this kind of aren't.
That was the last point that I wanted to bring up is that when he died, this was the song.
Yeah.
That was like the epigraph song. This was the theme of people grieving him when he died. Like, more than, like how many great songs that he had that could have had a resurgence in people listening to it and just sort of like encapsulating his life. This was the one.
Right.
Man in the Mirror. Like when he left the world, like his lasting message, like, okay, if you're going to take one thing from me, it's this.
Yeah.
Like the,
Yeah. And I think
it's the change you want to see.
I think it's a good one.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's your favorite best, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my favorite best, easily. So for me, my two standouts, we'll start with Smooth Criminal, which I think is...
I wrote that one down too.
It is kind of like, how I was saying earlier, how while Thriller's highest highs are so high, they're like unapproachable. But there are times on Bad where it gets close to those highs. I think Smooth Criminal is one of those moments. I think Bad is one of those moments. I think The Way You Make Me Feel is one of those moments. Like overall, Bad is like it is kind of like an average higher, they both kind of equal out, I guess, but like the average is very, very high on Bad as from a songwriting and just a Michael Jackson like performance standpoint. But Smooth Criminal, it's interesting like that it wasn't, I guess, released as a single, but it did have a video. So how is that not considered a single if it had a video? But
no, it was Smooth Criminal was a single.
Oh, okay. I guess it just what it was. It wasn't one of the initial
2 years
5
after it fucking came out.
It just wasn't one of the initial 5 that went to number 1. And I don't think maybe this one didn't go to number 1.
No, this was the 7th of 9 singles.
Wow. Yeah, I love this one. I love the video, especially. This is the video where he kind of is wearing that like Bugs Bunny ass like zoot suit shit, which is really sick.
It's
and they do the lean, the fucking
the
crazy lean in this.
The suit, it's a Fred Astaire suit. It's like a reference to a Fred Astaire thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Smooth Criminal. Bugs
Bunny. Yeah.
it's a standout on the song on the album, and I think that the album should have been called Smooth Criminal. I think that's a way cooler, way more like if you want to just like describe him as being bad or like tough or whatever. Smooth Criminal is that is a sick title for an album.
I really love the elegance
of bad
of this major momentous historical album having a title that is a single syllable.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's 3 letters. That's kind of cool, man.
It is cool. It is cool.
But
who am I?
It's hard for me to get. It's hard for me to get past that.
Who am I to coach Michael Jackson? Like Michael.
Well, he wanted it to be Smooth
Yeah,
Criminal.
he did.
His choice
I think he was right.
what you're saying.
Smooth Criminal just sounds more in the vein of like a Thriller, and like it sounds more in that continuum to me. That's all. But
and I mean, hey, it's what he wanted. So
yeah. It was Quincy and the label. They vetoed it because they thought it sounded like a bad connotation, which is probably smart.
Now you're astute to connect it to Thriller because it's interesting how like the song Thriller, the whole concept of it is it's like a love letter to a genre of films,
right? Yeah,
horror films, and so Smooth Criminal is like it's the thriller of bad, where it's the exact same thing. The long music video, the story music video, which he pioneered with Thriller, like it's just a different type of movie. It's the gangster noir. It's him doing the same thing,
30s gangster thing, but yeah. Interesting. I never looked at it that way. I looked at it more as like he's just doing Beat It and Bad again. You know, he's trying to be tough guy again. But I actually like thinking of it in that frame better, which is like it's a love letter to film, which is cooler.
In a very unique, such a dorky Michael Jackson kind of way. You know?
Yeah.
Just like so I don't know what
he's
it is.
He's just so earnest. He's so earnest. Like
just like homeschooled religious kid.
Have you heard? You know? Have you heard? Well, he was a fucking Jehovah's Witness.
Right. Yeah. He was.
There's too much to talk about with Michael Jackson. He's too weird. Anyway, and then my other standout is kind of okay. So I'm going to use this as to be my skipper for the album.
Oh, a negative standout.
A negative standout. I like doing the negative standouts.
Bad song. Okay.
Is Speed Demon.
You don't like Speed Demon.
I don't really like Speed Demon. Like
what? Okay, if you don't like the 87 production,
Speed Demon is
that
not the
run
song for
in
you.
Speed Demon is going to be nails on the chalkboard for you.
It's fucking a dope run. It's crazy. It made me question like if it was sequenced or if a person played it. Do you know?
I was going to say, I actually don't know. I tried to find that out.
It really sounds sequenced. Like if a person played that, then like fuck you. Like you like go to hell. Like for being able to do that.
But dude, just listen to like people performing like Chopin and Beethoven.
That's true.
Like
that's true.
You know,
that's
like
a really
people
good point.
have Flight of the Bumblebee. Like people have this dexterity.
That's true.
It's just they're playing it on a synclavier instead of.
It sounds fake
instead of a piano.
Yeah, it's just too much, and it's too on the nose for me. Like it's like Speed Demon, so we're gonna like play the fastest riff of all time, like like it has to be the most notey and fastest and biggest and baddest riff because I'm Michael Jackson, and it has to be the biggest and the fastest. And
that's funny.
I'm just kind of.
I thought you were gonna say "Just Good Friends" is the skipper.
Just Good Friends is also probably a skipper, which is interesting because that's the Stevie Wonder duet.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people that is the skipper, but like I fucking love Stevie Wonder, man. Like I'm charmed hearing him on this.
Hot take. Jeez.
It's interesting that they chose to do that song though. Like they probably could have picked a better song to have Stevie Wonder on. Like it's weird that it's not a Michael Jackson song or a Stevie Wonder song. Like why didn't they pick a song one of them wrote to do? Like I don't know. And like in the Spike Lee documentary, Stevie Wonder even says that. He's like, yeah, that was a cool song. He's like, and I had Michael on my album after Bad came out, and Michael duetted with me on my album, but I made sure that the song we did is one that I wrote.
He said that.
Yeah. It's
funny.
like, got him.
Yeah, that is a strange choice.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because Michael doesn't. Well, I say he doesn't always have features, but well, he did with Paul McCartney. Now he is with Stevie Wonder and Sita Garrett. But yeah, to do one, and we are not going to write it.
Yeah, and it's you two. Neither one of you can write it. Weird. So, okay, I have to take it. I'm sorry. I'm going to take an extra standout song.
Oh my God. Do you guys see how much he dogs me around?
So, okay.
Just stop.
I specifically told Brandon before we started, I'm like, let's keep standouts to 2 songs. Okay?
Yeah, and you just interrupted me like after I did 2. You're like, so mine are. Okay, go ahead.
So, okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, technically this is my second standout because my second standout was a negative standout.
Oh,
so that's not a standout. That's a negative
standout. You are the
standout.
one who elected to use your second standout for a bad song.
I just want to highlight.
Dogging me.
I want to highlight.
Around. You're dogging me around.
Okay. I want to highlight Liberian Girl because Liberian Girl is so dope.
Okay.
I love Liberian Girl. I think it's very sexy and sensual, and like the way she's like Amanapatapia or whatever the fuck she's saying. I don't know what she's saying.
Onomatopoeia.
Yeah. It's very it's super cinematic. It just like really transports you into.
It is cinematic, isn't it?
It really transports you into a world, that song. And
it's all these like DX7 textures with delay on them.
Yeah. And it really sounds very forward thinking in the sense that like I feel like a lot of 90s R&B sounds like this song. Like you can hear his influence on hip hop and R&B in the 90s.
Dude, there are
like
R&B
now,
tracks from like 2002 that sound exactly like this song.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like you really hear.
Yes.
I don't know. This song is just dope. It's just really, really, really good. Anyway, what are you on? Standout songs? I forget.
Oh my God. Dogging me around.
Are you on favorite best now?
Yeah, it's now time. So you already preempted your favorite best. We're going to go into favorite best. My favorite is Another Part of Me.
Fuck. Yeah, it's so good, isn't it?
What a song.
Oh, man. I really don't know what you're going to pick as best.
Just that fucking... Okay, to me, Another Part of Me, it's like... And
that one sounds... Here's what I'll say. The way that this album sounds super dated, this song does too, but in like a cool, good way. Like it reminds me of watching the movie like Trading Places or something.
Yeah.
like that late
so
80s period
in a good way.
But it's cool. It's like you love it for that. Like
And I think the reason why I liked it so, and I still do like it so much, it just really grabbed onto me because like when I, at some point in time when I came back to listening to Bad again and started listening to it every year, every couple of years or whatever, it was the one of the songs that was not super famous to me, even though it did come out as a single at the time and it was like a big song at the time, but I don't remember it. But it wasn't Bad or Smooth Criminal or Man in the Mirror or The Way You Make Me Feel or you know, one of the ones that's in the pantheon of Michael songs that you hear everywhere. And so it sort of surprised me.
Mm.
And it was just the one that like just felt to me like an album cut.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, this is just as good as anything he's ever made. Holy shit. But I think it really comes down to that guitar line. And it was either Paul Jackson Jr. or David Williams who played it. I don't know which one. And his vocal performance too. So there's a really interesting textural contrast.
He does a lot of hee-hees on this one.
Yeah. There's who's and he's and nah-he. And
well, he has those
does he
really...
do Suka Chuka? My favorite Suka Chuka.
I don't know. But I get what you're saying with the texture stuff because he does a lot of like soft, like like his background harmonies are really soft, but then his lead is like
the
really
lead
nasty and gritty.
Is one of the most aggressive, possibly the most aggressive ones that he does on the entire album. Maybe even more aggressive than on Bad, than on Speed Demon. Another part of me, waiting for you.
Yeah.
Just another part of me. Like he sings the whole song through his teeth.
Yeah.
Like his teeth is gritted the whole time on the lead, but the backgrounds are all message to you.
Yeah. He's doing like a female. He's doing an approximation of like a female backup singers or something.
And the contrast
is
just
really
like
great.
Butter, dude.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
So
song rules.
Was that your best or your favorite?
That's my favorite.
So best, I'm hoping it's the only song we haven't talked about yet, which I can't believe there's one we haven't talked about yet, but I'm curious.
Can you guess?
The Way You Make Me Feel?
The Way You Make Me Feel.
Oh, I'm so glad you picked this one.
To me, this is obvious.
Really?
Dude, the way you make me feel.
It's Man in the Mirror, hands down.
Clearly. The Way You Make Me Feel, to me, this is a candidate for the best pop song ever made. Ever.
I can't really argue with you.
Like in a laboratory, by objective standards. Like what else is it's funny because the only other contender is like it's Billie Jean.
Sure.
Like another Michael Jackson song. Skewing more modern, there's like Hey Ya. Again, made in a laboratory, the best fucking
bubblegum pop.
The Way You Make Me Feel is the Superman of pop songs. It's like this is it. This is everything that you need. The shuffle.
The shuffle, dude. The shuffle. Supposedly, did you know how he arrived at the shuffle? His mom called him and said, would you do something that kind of felt like this kind of old, like Motown song or something? And she showed him a song that was like this like super shuffly thing.
Yeah, see,
and he was like, yeah,
50s,
he was
early
like,
60s.
Yeah, I'll try to work
thing
that
to
in,
do.
Mom.
It harkens back, right? See, it harkens back to the classics, like the origin of pop music.
Mm-hmm. And that was a guy playing a fucking shuffle.
Dude, the shaker thing, the
mm-hmm.
that was made on a fucking mini Moog.
Whoa. Should we explain what a shuffle is?
Yeah. So a shuffle is...
So it's still in 4/4, but it has a subdivision of 3 or 6, I guess, right?
But normally, so you count music 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you can divide each one of those beats in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can divide that 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But a shuffle is when you take those, that's like straight, but you're gonna sort of scoot them over in time to where they're closer to each other. So it's like that. Another way of understanding it is instead of in groups of 2 on those tiny subdivisions, they're now in groups of 3.
Yeah.
So
that's
1, 2, 3,
how I
1,
would.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1,
Yeah,
2,
1, 2,
3,
3,
1,
1,
2,
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's kind of how I would understand it.
But you omit the one that you're calling 2, so it ends up being
yeah.
1. So the 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1. Right.
So it sounds really complex and complicated, but it's one of the like more old school like 50s
classic.
moves.
It's old,
it's super fucking
and it's very
classic.
natural.
Yeah.
You know, if it would be very easy for you to be able to pick it up and play it, you know, as a beginner on a drum set, because you've been surrounded by it so much throughout your life of listening to music. Like it's very natural feeling. Like blues music uses it a lot and stuff.
It's funny because on
Jazz
this song, it sounds hard. Like it sounds difficult.
Because the shuffle is just so. Like it's not just... You know what I mean? It's like a slight, it's both a deep shuffle and a slight shuffle at the same time, which is an interesting thing about the shuffle, is because you can shift that beat over to a varying degree. There's not just one shuffle. You can shuffle really hard, bum ba bum ba bum, or you can shuffle slightly, bum ba bum ba bum ba bum, right? So this one, like, you know, he spent years making this album. He didn't just come up, you know, he didn't Rolling Stones these songs. He didn't just do these in one night of passion and forgot that he even made it. This is all carefully orchestrated. He made these songs like how people make movies. So the degree of shuffle is
just so.
Yeah. And it's fucking perfect.
Yeah, it is.
You know? And the tom fills.
Oh, the toms on this are nuts.
My God.
Because of how
the
hard
stereo,
dude,
left and right.
That was one of the most jarring things about this album, but I kind of grew to love it.
It's incredible.
The tom tones are so insane because they're so digital sounding,
and
but
layered.
They are completely like it's like as if the toms are. If Michael Jackson is here in the mix and the band is all here, the toms are like behind, like almost behind you. They're so far left and right.
Behind your head, left and right.
Yeah, it's silly almost, but it's cool. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, man.
Were you kind of ready to shit all over this album like a little bit, and now it's kind of like the more I think about it. I wasn't gonna shit on it, but I was so
I
on the fence about how I felt about it. But the more we talk about it, I'm like, fuck, it's so good.
No, this song, I mean, this album is genius, dude.
Yeah.
It is. And to answer your question, I would have been if I didn't listen to it so much in recent years. Like I listen to this album a lot. And I have come around on the genius of it. And again, like I said, even including the tones and the timbres of it, like I have an appreciation for them.
You know what it is? It's the songs are so good, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like talking about how gnarly some of the timbres are on this, especially as like a big collective. It's just the songs are so fucking good, and Michael Jackson has so much goddamn conviction when he sings this material that you're just like, you're enraptured by this music. Like it's phenomenal.
Yeah, man.
You're right. The way you make me feel, I feel dumb not highlighting it because it really is so fucking good.
It's the 50s, it's the 80s, it's the future, it's everything. It's like the core concepts of a pop song distilled and refined into a very potent little perfume or whatever tincture or whatever the fuck you get when you distill something.
And a perfect follow-up to Bad. Like perfect.
Right.
Like Bad sets the table.
It leads off with the scary tough guy song and then just breaks right into like,
it shows you the two sides of Michael, the yin and yang of Michael in a really good way. Those two back to back. Yeah.
And there is nothing challenging about the lyrics, about the message. It is literally what the song is about, and what it means is I am very attracted to you, and I am like, I've never felt this sort of euphoria as I do when I'm around you, and I am just super into you.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of
which, that's fucking pop music.
Yeah, it is. That is the crux.
And it doesn't mean anything else besides that.
Yeah. That is the crux of what it's all about, really.
Dude, it's immaculate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in terms of like favorite best, like seriously, The Way You Make Me Feel, I've been like waiting for this album to come around because The Way You Make Me Feel is, in my opinion, one of the best songs that there is.
I feel that way about Man in the Mirror, though. Like,
well, there you go.
I really do.
There you go.
All
Testament to Bad.
Yeah, it is. What do you got? What do you think?
Well,
this is a fun one.
Yeah, my final thought is I'm proud of us that we managed to do this.
Yeah, me too. It was a little intimidating.
Very, yeah.
I was nervous up until we started talking today.
Yeah.
To talk about it.
I didn't know if our, little format of our humble little show here could even sustain such a large album
or
famous album.
Could we contain Michael Jackson within the parameters of the show?
Right.
And you know what? We kind of couldn't because of how much we had to not talk about.
That's true. There's a lot that we've left on the table. Yeah. But I don't know.
We didn't talk about Joe Jackson, Berry Gordy, the Jackson 5, Janet Jackson. We talked a lot about the allegations, but
we probably spent too much time on that.
Yeah. There's so much. We didn't talk about Thriller. We barely, really, in the context of Michael Jackson, we barely touched on Thriller, but it's fuck.
But I feel that way about every episode that we do, which is like,
there's never enough time.
There isn't enough. And that this isn't really the place for all of that. Like, if you really want to know the history.
What do you mean all? What are you referring to?
It's dogging me around. If you really want to know the full history of something and the play-by-play of everything, like there's better resources for that. It's not Playback. It's not here.
Yeah, that's true.
But
HBO, Leaving Neverland.
Yeah, that's the place to go. No, this is I'm proud of us. That's my final thought.
Good. I would say the thing I've been trying to nail down, thinking about Michael Jackson as a musician, and even bigger than that, just Michael Jackson as an entertainer. I've been trying to figure out for myself what component parts of other performers and entertainers in all the various aspects of his talent that he's able to cover. Like he's like the Michael Jordan of so many things. He's basically like if you took James Brown, Fred Astaire, Brian Wilson, and like from a songwriting perspective, like a Lennon or a McCartney,
like Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney,
because he's the bubblegum one.
Yeah,
but he was fucking dark and shit too, though. So maybe Lennon also.
Yeah,
he also did. They don't really care about us.
And even George he's like a very spiritual person, or in a different way from George. But you get what I'm saying. It's like if you had one guy who had the talent of Fred Astaire, of James Brown, of fucking Brian Wilson and the only base he doesn't quite have covered is like as a musician, and you could even make the argument that he does because of how fucking amazing of a singer he is. His instrument is his voice.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a testament to that your voice is an instrument.
And then also on top of all of that, you've got someone who just has the raw, like sexual charisma of like an Elvis Presley, right? Mm-hmm. Who has like the dynamism and like the intense, like rapturous attraction and like just fervor he inspires in people like an Elvis or like the Beatles or something.
That can make a stadium full of people want to bang him.
Cry. Or like he had the power as a performer to like hold a silent moment. Like if you ever watch his fucking Super Bowl performance. The first Super Bowl halftime show was 1993 and it was Michael Jackson, okay? And Michael Jackson, the Super Bowl, it's a predetermined halftime length, right? And he came out, and this was the first time they were ever going to have a Super Bowl halftime performance by like a popular artist. And so
because before that it was just like marching bands.
Yeah, it was bullshit. Right? It was dumb bullshit.
Yeah.
And so he came out and
marching bands.
He came out and he stood in silence while the entire world was watching for like, I think it was like 5 minutes. He stood there and didn't do anything for 5 minutes. They're saying the people in the control room are like flipping the fuck out. They're pulling their hair out. They're like, somebody fucking tell him to start singing. Like, what the fuck? Like, we're going to go to a fucking commercial. Like, what's he doing? He's insane. Like, this is the fucking Super Bowl. Like, and he just stood there and he was just like holding this fucking pose. And
yeah.
And he knew what he was doing, and he was right. And then when he started, it was like he brought the fucking house down. And man, there's videos of him where it's like the opposite, where it's like he's holding silence, and there's like a stadium of people who are like holding their breath, being so quiet, waiting for him. Like
I experienced the same thing too, because earlier today I watched the music video for Bad.
Mm-hmm.
After I watched the music video for Fat. And and that silence thing stood out to me there too, right? Like when he first comes into, when he drops into the leather outfit, right? Mm-hmm. He first transforms and it goes into color, and he's just standing there, and there's just fucking silence. It's like 45 seconds.
It's really powerful though.
It stood out to me. I was like, God damn, what a choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He's the master of sound and yin and yang with that. He understands the absence of sound and what that contributes to what you do with your sound.
The anticipation of him, the anticipation of knowing you're about to experience Michael Jackson.
The confidence.
Dude.
The confidence that you must have in what you are about to perform. And that comes with practice. And that takes me back to what I was saying about when he used to just make fools out of the other dancers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the difference is practice.
Yeah.
And intentional, dedicated getting ready. There's no substitute for that.
Yeah.
You know, Michael, it just the degree to which how much time and mental brain space that he put towards getting ready.
Yeah.
For this moment is that is, you know, that's
he thrived on the pressure. Like
that's what set him apart from all the rest of us. That's the reason why none of us are Michael Jackson. That none of us have been able to find it within ourselves to dedicate ourselves singularly to something to that degree. That's what he fucking did. Him, Prince, people like that, you know?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, God, dude, what do you even say? I like possibly greatest single artist of all time. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just like, okay, the one thing
who else are you going to say? If it's not Michael, who else is it going to be?
Yeah.
Who's better than Michael Jackson?
Right.
You know, like the best that you can be is like as good as him.
Yeah.
That's the top. Like, who's better than Michael Jackson?
I know. Like the one thing I want to leave with people, if you have, I'm not going to tell you go listen to Thriller. I'm not going to tell you listen to Bad. What you need to watch Motown 25. This was a live performance he did in Harlem for the Motown 25th anniversary show. They started it with the full Jackson 5, played a couple songs, and then the Jackson 5 leaves the stage and he goes, "Those were the good old days. And those are some great songs. But the songs I really love are the new songs." And then he starts playing Billie fucking Jean in public for the first time.
This is the famous moonwalk, right?
And then he moonwalks for the first time. Dude. It is... I've never seen anything more powerful than that performance.
You see?
It's astounding how talented he was. Like...
The best we can be is as good.
Yeah. Yeah. Motown 25.
Can you imagine how much better
Jean,
our music would be if we dedicated ourselves even like a fringe, a fraction?
Why do you have to leave?
Much as
why do we have to end the show on such a dour note?
You realize how much worse we are than Michael Jackson? You understand?
We have one parting little segment for the show we wanted to do. correct, Brandon?
Yeah. A little
We're calling this
mailbag. Yeah, no, we just want to respond to some awesome things because I mean, look, we understand how small of a show we have here. I think from looking at the metrics, it seems to me like there's about 150 people
that
who
listen
like
all
actually really listen to this show and follow it. And look, would I like there to be thousands? Yeah.
Sure.
Would I like there to be millions? Of course.
Uh-huh.
But we love you guys.
Yeah.
Like just the fact that there are 150 people out there who like listen to this. This is amazing.
Over the world.
This is amazing to me, and we really love you guys.
Seriously,
really
me and Brandon.
Seriously,
me and Brandon will text each other. Can you believe that people are listening to our show?
Anybody is
like whenever
even
one of you leave like
people.
Whenever any of you leave like a good comment, whichever one of us sees it first, we'll text it to the other and be like, "Did you see this? Somebody listened to our show. They like really listened to what we were saying." Like anyway, I parrot what Brandon says. It's thank you all for listening.
Yeah. We don't
Thanks
take you guys for. So you guys are saying some really good and thought provoking things, so we want to respond to it.
Yeah.
So this one, this is a comment. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to lead it off with some. I don't actually know the username of the person who left this because it's copied and pasted. That you sent it.
We'll
to
get
me.
better. We'll get better.
We'll get better at this. But you know who you are. This one says, I'm really enjoying your Plastic Beach episode. As a big fan of Damon Albarn and Lou Reed, I was most excited about Some Kind of Nature. Damon has a great story about how the collab came about. Because we were talking a lot about the collab aspect of Gorillaz. He says, or he or she or they say, it's in this interview. Unfortunately, I can't recall when exactly he talks about it, but it's worth listening to in its entirety. And then links to an interview where Damon Albarn is talking about the collab with Lou Reed. Also, fun fact, you guys mentioned in the Stevie Nicks song on Cracker Island, Oil, hell yeah, that was supposed to be Julian Casablancas.
Shut up. Wow.
Another playback alum.
Uh-huh.
I believe it was recorded, but it didn't sound right. Apparently, this sort of thing is common for Damon, and as such, he has a vault of unused features, sometimes alternate versions. One that involves another playback alum, Grace Jones.
Shut up. Wow.
She was on the Human song Charger, but she replaced Pauline Black of The Selector.
Wow.
So Grace Jones is on one of the songs on Humans. And so they're saying, much like Lou Reed replaced Julian Casablancas, Grace Jones replaced Pauline Black. And then he says, I believe she said something mildly unkind about Pauline's version.
I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of a shit talker.
Grace Jones.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, right. Yeah, Grace Jones sort of gave off an energy of like, like
pretty
like
rude,
but also like old head. Like I've earned the right to talk shit about all these young people and whatnot. Even though Pauline Black is sort of from the same generation as Grace Jones, but whatever. But I'm really glad that you brought that up because I wasn't really thinking about that when we were doing the Gorillaz episode because I was talking about how he like edited and copied and pasted performances. But yeah, man, like he's even more selective than that, where like he was so ready to edit and cherry pick the performances of his collaborators that it was even to the point of like, I'm going to record you on my track and I haven't even decided if I'm going to keep you on the track.
Right. Julian Casablancas.
Right.
Which is fucking nuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let me get you as an option for my track that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And who knows what I'll do with it, if anything.
Right.
And that's kind of the place where he's coming from. You know?
Good luck if I call Stevie Nicks today.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is from Will M8375 on YouTube, talking about our Gorillas episode where and my hot take that Gorillas is not that deep.
Oh.
Willem 8375 says, F these guys. It looks cool. That's what most people care about. It's like saying literally like throwing trash away. Literally, any popular song is stupid because it's only talking about being famous and having fun. But like, you ain't going to call anyone tasteless if they like Kanye or AC/DC.
Can I just say that's a little bit of a convoluted point, first off. Little confusing to parse what exactly you mean by that. But
I think he's saying it's stupid to say that we are stupid for saying that because something is not artistically deep, it's not good. For example, like you know, Kanye, AC/DC, like songs that are about having a good time, and that's it.
Okay,
saying that that's bad would be stupid.
Okay,
and to that, my response is that is exactly what we said.
Yeah, right.
That because it's not deep
doesn't mean that
it's bad.
Yeah, we're not saying it's bad.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's like amazing, and
it doesn't have to be deep.
Yeah, all we did was like talk about how amazing it was. Really,
yes,
just in a nuanced way. Which a lot of people who are big fans of stuff really have a big problem with nuance. Nuance is not quite in their vocabulary.
Right,
you're not allowed to speak any ill whatsoever about their favorite thing. And I'm sorry, but we're going to. We have to.
Right. Yeah, because we said it's not deep, and also spent 2.5 hours talking about how good it is.
Right.
Like, for example, I just talked about how the song The Way You Make Me Feel is not about anything other than, hey, I'm into you, and that's it. So here's your opportunity to understand that does not mean that I'm saying, therefore, this is a bad song.
Right.
Just making an observation that it doesn't mean anything else besides that.
Right.
That's really it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So last one. This one is from Ron Strelecki. Ron Strelecki on YouTube. So this is from the episode about the Shags.
Cool.
Ron says, thank you for the wonderful deep dive on Philosophy of the World by the Shags. It's a rare thing to hear outsider music discussed from a technical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Most discussions keep to the weirdness and the outsiderness of the musicians.
I noticed that as well.
About the discourse of about outsider music.
And just other discussions about it. It's all just like, it's so weird.
Isn't it weird? Aren't they weird? Isn't Wesley Willis weird, man? Right? Yeah. They don't just like, let's analyze
talk about the guitar
what they're
parts.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay, Ron continues. You touched on the core of outsider music, which I think sometimes can be as simple as adhering to regularities outside of the commonly accepted, or making up one's own rules and sticking to them. The Shags weren't really making up their own rules, but they were adhering instinctively to rules that they couldn't quite find the shape of. That's part of the attraction for fans. He puts fans in quotes. That's funny. It's wondering, what are they even trying to do?
Sure.
It's a puzzle with no answer, or a maze with no center. I think of the core of outsider music as attempting to find and adhere to a core set of rules that differ from the accepted. And so the genre, in quotes, can contain Zappa, the Cardiacs, the Pixies, Philip Glass, Moondog, Dog Bowl, Neutral Milk Hotel. I'm always looking for the underlying abstract that connects musicians like those to the conventionally accepted outsider artists like the Shags, Wesley Willis, Space Lady, Daniel Johnston, and so on. Often just being bad is what attracts people, a cringe feeling like watching an accident. But sometimes there is some underlying consistency to irregularity that is outside of canon.
That was a really, really thoughtful comment. That is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that touches a lot on what we were attempting to do and what was my intention in picking the Shags, which was to highlight it for some of the reasons that maybe I wasn't really observing on YouTube, which I thought, it was something that we could do. I especially wanted to pick it because I knew you would analyze it from that perspective, Brandon. You would, because you can't help yourself, would Brandon would hear the Shags and then get his guitar out.
Yeah.
And try to like figure it out, which I knew would make for a really interesting episode, and I think it did. So
true.
Good. I love it. I love this segment. I think this is cool. So yeah, please leave a comment. Join the conversation in the comment section of our videos on YouTube, wherever else you can leave comments. Probably, I don't know.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what your favorite best from Bad is, or from Michael is, or from. Let us know what your favorite best Michael sound is. I want to hear especially from all the Nahi fans. I didn't pick it for my favorite or best, but I feel Nahi is probably my second favorite.
I'm going to have to go. I want to hear from the He Fans. The Nahis, you can get out.
Nahi?
You can see, I'll show you the door, Nahi fans.
Get out.
Yeah.
That's the second South Park reference in one
Michael Jackson episode.
One episode. Yeah.
Okay. I think our next album probably went frankincense or myrrh. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. What's our next pick?
I choose Breakfast in America by Supertramp.
I'm really excited for this.
You're welcome.
I've never listened to it.
Other than welcome.
Possibly songs that I would have heard just through osmosis or something, which I'm sure there are some.
Also,
I'm stoked.
Big you're welcome to any Paul Thomas Anderson fans out there. And you will see what I mean, Nate, when you start listening to this album.
Well, it's not Steely Dan, so it's not dirty work.
No.
It's something else.
You'll see.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean.
I'm excited. Okay, cool.
You'll see.
Stoked. That's going to be fun. I've never heard it. I'm really excited to listen to it.
Okay,
and then after that, we're getting close to Reggae Summer 2.
It might. Is it going to be after Supertramp? Do we go straight into Reggae Summer? There might be like one or two episodes more, but yeah.
Yeah, but get ready. We're coming back to Reggae Summer soon.
Yeah, because if you do know us from our music that we make, if you are fans of our band Black Market Dub, then you will know how it really makes no goddamn sense at all that we have a podcast where we talk about music that isn't reggae.
Yeah.
It's a very strange decision on our part that we've never really taken the time to introspect about. But anyway, we do it. But we like to stay true to our roots. We did the first annual Reggae Summer.
Yep,
Nothing but classic reggae albums last year, and we're going to do it again this year.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
And it's almost time.
Yep. So speaking of us being a band, we are Black Market Dub on Bandcamp, blackmarketdub.bandcamp.com. Over there, you can get 45 EPs and albums of music. There's vinyl there that we've made that you can buy. All kinds of good stuff. We are kind of in crunch time. We're trying to get our next album pressed to vinyl, and we're a couple buckaroos short. So if you want to help us get there, go over to blackmarketdub.bandcamp.com. Throw us $100. That's what each of you should do. And then we would get there.
Yes.
Or $1 or $5 or no dollars, whatever. But help us out.
Whatever you can afford, we appreciate it. All of our music is, I think all of it is available to stream for free.
It's streamed for free. Some of it's purchased. Some of it's
to your
not.
heart's content.
Yeah.
Anyway, and yeah, any purchase that you make, if you buy it, you can download it, and there's other cool stuff. But it's
there's
all
a
just
fucking
bonus,
Michael Jackson album there that we
Goodness
did.
of your heart.
Or
That's
actually,
right.
I did before Brandon joined the band. But
you did it before I was in the band.
It's fun stuff. Lots of remixes of pop tunes, reggae remixes of Michael Jackson, of Hall & Oates, of all kinds of shit. Elton John,
David Bowie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's fun.
ABBA.
Also, we have a Patreon page, patreon.com/blackmarketdub. Over there, you can get ad-free episodes of this podcast, which will save you 5-10 minutes of ads for $5 a month. Also, we do other stuff there too, but less frequently. But we do other stuff there as well. What else? Oh, check out escapepatchrecords.com. They're kind of like our partner. All kinds of like exclusive stuff. We just perform on all kinds of stuff on the label. So all kinds of like exclusive stuff on vinyl over there at escapepatchrecords.com. Follow them on Instagram as well, and go to escapepatchrecords.com. And with that, Brandon, do we have any final hee-hees to go out on?
Hee-hoos and hoo-has, of course. Well, so long, everybody. We love you. And remember, no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Goodbye.
Breathe.